All right. Here we are. Welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to our Let's Build series. I've got my good friend Derek here with me today.
hmm
We're scrapping it together, and we've got Conclave Mentor on Derek's recommendation here. I've got some exciting stuff to play with. So thank you all for joining us. Derek, how you doing today, buddy?
I am doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
hmm Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of preface things, open things up for those of you who have noticed we haven't had a lot of content lately, and um, I've been driving a lot of that content myself over just the last couple of weeks here. And the reality is, I got a new job. I got a job at at a recycling company that does odd recyclables, and the job has been well, it's been full time, but it's been overtime for 3 weeks, and so I'm adjusting to that new schedule, getting that cadence down, and adapting my whole life around working these super long days. So I haven't been as active with the content, but we will be coming back at you with all sorts of cool stuff. And we figured we'd start it today with Conclave Mentor, something that may or may not be smooth brain. We may find ourselves halfway through this, Derek, and realize that it actually has a lot of hard cuts.
We do find ourselves getting lost in the sauce 100% of the time
A
when we actually start
100% of
putting
the
stuff
time.
together. So,
Yeah.
it very well may be.
Yep. Yep. As Brian Montana once said, 60% of the time works every time. So
Exactly.
we are guaranteed to get lost in the sauce. But that
Yeah.
is why I suspect people join us for these videos. It's really interesting to see the thought process around how we come up with these and the sort of heuristics we use
Yeah.
for this deck building. So um, yeah, give me a little wave if you're in chat and audio is working for you. Say hi. Let us know how you're doing today. And yeah, and we'll get cruising with this. Before we lead right on into the video, I do want to let you all know that we have completed our Patreon. Our Patreon page is up and active. It's at Common Connoisseurs on Patreon, where you can subscribe and become a member at all different levels. We made sure to have a lot of different tiers. We specifically chose Patreon in this case because we wanted to have lots of tiers that allowed people to do it at any level that they felt comfortable with. So if you don't have a ton of money, but you do feel like you're getting a lot of value out of this, you want to support this community and this project, then we have levels as low as $2 a month, ways that you can contribute, and then in reward for that, you get access to a special part of the Discord where we have some of the hot new builds that we're working on, some of the hot new tech, great conversations going on there. And then as you go up the tiers, we have a ton of stuff that we promise in return for you to be rewarded with. So Findhorn Brownie here, Conclave Mentor, is Mini Benevolent Hydra. Yeah, I don't know what Benevolent Hydra is because I think that might be a
Benevolent
filthy rare.
Hydra.
Is that a filthy rare or a filthy
I
mythic?
believe it's a filthy rare. It's a jumpstart card, I think.
Got it. Okay. I think the other
Yeah.
way to look at it is it's Selesnya Winding Constrictor.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think looking at it through that lens is a great way to do it. Yeah. So, anyways, let's send it. And I mentioned this to you, Derek, earlier, and so just let the chat know because I am a little low energy today. We're going to be just playing it by ear and getting done what we can. So
That's right.
so yeah. So Derek, when
Yeah.
you messaged me with Conclave Mentor, it wasn't on the list of cards that I sent to you,
Mhm.
but you were enthusiastic about it, and
Yeah.
your rationale led me to start looking at cards. And as the thumbnail indicated, there's a lot of keywords that work really well with Conclave Mentor immediately after Conclave Mentor enters. So I got kind
Yeah.
of excited about it at that point, but what was your rationale? What was kind of what led you to think this has potential?
Yeah, so when I find commanders that interest me in Pauper Commander, particularly in a competitive sense, they're usually commanders that are like very interesting from like a theoretical or like more academic point
Mhm.
of view. That stuff I think is really gets my gears turning. Like Heritage do it. Dragon's Rage Channeler is another one that I'm working on a little bit um, with some very simple ideas. Conclave Mentor is one where it's so easy to look at cards that care about +1/+1 counters. Like Homs is a common one that's asking very specific things, and it's a very fancy card that there's a lot of synergy and wrinkly brain stuff going on there. But people, I think, a lot of the times will overlook how powerful it is to just maximize on raw rate of cards
Mhm, mhm.
and what they provide. And I think Conclave Mentor really pushes a lot of things into overdrive in terms of like how much power you're adding to the board for how much mana you're spending to do it.
Yeah,
Um, and it's really easy to build a very threatening board with a lot of redundant pieces, which I think is really important. It's hard to pick apart. The only thing that's like truly important to your board is like Conclave Mentor, and when you have one thing that you need to protect, it's very easy to like
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
You're not spreading your protection spells like so thin,
Right,
which I think is like something that Hamza might suffer from in some metagames. Is you need to have him out, but you also need to have a board of creatures with counters to enable Hamza, and then you need to have cards that pay off from Hamza's second
sure,
ability that reduces the cost.
sure.
So there's a number of ways to attack that, whereas we are kind of like funneling everything into Conclave Mentor. So it's a little bit easier to defend that way. It's just one of the like small perks, I think, if you're just going to go with like a 1/1 counter deck, which
Yeah, and it'd be a
yeah,
shame if we were in the best colors for protecting anything that ever could be.
I know,
So,
and adding counters and giving protection in the same
yeah,
spell.
yeah, yeah.
When yeah,
There's a lot. There's a lot of this that like your snakeskin veil type stuff, Gaia's
mhm,
touch. The where like incidentally the things that we're going to be doing are also going to be whether it's like protecting our things or whether it's drawing cards or whatever it is. These things are all going to always have like a +1/+1 counter element to them, which is really going to feed into a very like dangerous board state and
mhm.
something that can deliver a lot of power. So some of the cards that when we were looking at this, there's a lot of like keyword searching here. So
Yeah,
yeah, so the first one that I thought we'd start with would be like evolve. Um,
yeah, that's a great place to start.
and that's primarily because Experiment One is going to be such an amazing card as a turn one play. If we go turn one Experiment One into turn two
Mhm.
Conclave Mentor, this thing is a 3/3 and it can
Yep.
immediately begin to regenerate.
And here's
Um,
the thing about like a card like Experiment One is that like it's not gonna grow like much bigger than a 3/3 all of the time, but like that's where you want it to be as a 3/3. Like you
mhm,
can regenerate it, and it's a threatening attacker, and it doesn't get swept by the common
yeah,
stuff.
one
So
mana 3/3 is perfectly fine.
yeah, it's not about like the ceiling on Experiment One. It's about having to do a very specific thing, and that's get 3+1/+1 counters on it,
Yeah, yeah. Now there's a couple of other
or
ones that are
two rather.
interesting
Yeah,
too, like this Croc. I couldn't spell this before.
Krakenora.
Krakenora,
Yeah.
is that it? Yeah,
Hmm.
Krakenora, where we can play this down, and then anything that we put into play that is 2 power is going to immediately make this into a 3/5, which I thought was pretty good. 3/5 reach. That's like a really excellent creature,
Hmm.
and of course, when I go through, when I go through this deck building process, either on my own or with other people, it's all about the diffusion phase. So this diffusion phase is going to start with us looking at all the different possibilities, and then we'll begin to condense later on.
Yeah.
So those two look good. These ones here, this one as a 3 mana card. This one,
I'm less high on mana
yeah,
increases. This is
hmm
like one toughness creatures for that mana cost. I'm a big proponent of like toughness
yeah,
in
yep. three
PDH in
five
Pauper
is a
Commander. Like
lot better
I
than.
think I like my things to be at least 3 toughness or higher, commonly. And I think if you're paying this much mana for a creature, it should come in with more.
Yep, and I think it's gonna be harder to trigger evolve in this deck with a 2
Yeah.
power creature than with a 1.
Well,
So,
plus when you look at a card like this too, like the fact that it's trample is like negligible because there's so many ways to like enable trample with a +1/+1 counter theme.
yep.
There's at least 3 cards off the top of my head that do it.
Oh, yeah,
To
I
all your
can think of a
creatures with one
lot.
counters.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than I can. I mean, there's more than three, but I can just come. I mean, there's just three easy ones that are all very, very good.
Let's
So,
add this one to
like, I don't think mana
considering,
increase is necessary.
because what we have to rate this as is this is essentially a 4/3 trample for 3,
Sure.
which is
Hmm.
good. That's above rate, but,
Yeah.
I think, we based on what I've already seen, like, we're gonna be working with some stuff that may exceed, that
Yeah.
in efficiency and power. Um So let's. Oh, I got a little funkiness on my screen here. I wonder what is going on with that. A little bit of huh. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's because I'm in the search engine right now. Okay, so we've got
Oh, sure.
evolve, and then we've got training,
Yeah.
and there are a couple here that really spoke to me. And training and mentor are like two sides of the same coin in a sense. One of them is when it attacks something with greater power is going to get a counter, or when it attacks something with lesser power. Um,
Yeah.
so there, this apprentice sharpshooter again, like reach being highly relevant.
Yeah, flying's a big deal
One
to
for
like to be able to get in the way of.
yeah, so when this creature attacks with another creature with power with greater power, it's going to get +2/+2, right? It's going to get two
Mhm.
counters on it. So it's immediately going to become a 3/6, which is like 3/6 for 3 mana with reach is definitely
Yep.
making the cut. Um,
Yeah.
Griffin Rider, this one becomes a 4/3 flying for 3,
Mhm.
which is great. And there's always the potential that they could become bigger.
Yeah.
So got to keep that in mind. This
And
Perish
Perish Blade I
Blade,
like a lot too.
this one went on the thumbnail because it's probably the best of all of them.
It's very obviously the best. Yeah.
It's really good. And then Rural Recruit here is interesting. What are your thoughts on this one? So we're making
So when I'm building decks
four,
like this,
two.
I don't like things. I and this may be personal. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what the right call is here, but I generally dislike 4 mana creatures if I'm building an aggro deck, unless it does something very specific
Got to
that I'm
be
looking to do.
big haymaker.
Yeah, I don't think this really rises.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, like it triggers training on itself. It brings a 3/1 with it. So like you can trigger it, but you're playing. It's a 4 minute. It's a hill giant at that
yeah,
point, right?
yeah, yeah. I think
I
this
don't think
one
it's
doesn't
necessary.
doesn't make the cut. So we've got Evolve Training. Let's go Mentor.
Yeah.
And we've got Blade Instructor. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1
Hmm.
creature on target attacking creature with lesser power. So it does have to be another creature, but it's going to be +2/+2. So that's interesting. What do you think about Mentor?
Um, so it's tougher because it cares about power specifically. Um, and all of our things are going to be getting a lot of counters. I find it. I think it's going to be pretty common where this attacks and it won't be able to put a counter on something.
Yeah, yeah. Um, this one here, lesser power. It's a 2/3. So again, this is like Mentor might not actually make the cut here. This might not be what we want to be
Yeah,
doing.
as much as I like Parhelion Patrol, I think it's like a great card on its own. In a lot of different decks, I don't think this is one of them though.
So let's take a look at Alliance. We had
I think, yeah, is there more than just the one that has Alliance triggered to give it a counter?
there no.
Well,
So the other,
Socialite, well, no,
yeah,
Socialite doesn't counters, yeah,
not
just
counters,
Fencer.
but Celebrity Fencer. This only takes one creature to put it up to a
See,
5/4.
yeah, Fencer I think is powerful enough
Yeah,
to
yeah,
where it's worth paying 4 mana for.
yeah. This thing will get very large very quickly.
Yeah,
Um, we also had Outlast,
yeah.
um, and these are really powerful. All
So
of these
yeah, the
cards.
ones that give keywords are good. I don't like the ability itself. It's just very slow.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's you only use a sorcery speed. But the ones that like give keywords, I like a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing is these 3 here, trample, reach, first strike.
Yeah,
The reach might not be, giving reach to everything could be
yeah.
good.
It's the least powerful of the three of them, but
Yeah,
it's
this will
still
this will be
good.
one to watch.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting. It's a hound. I wonder if this has been errated. Dog archer.
I don't
Look at that. No more hounds. F in chat for the hounds.
know.
Yeah. So we got that, and then we've also got what were some of the other ones? We had Undying, which we're only gonna have one of, I
Yeah,
believe. Just Young
Young
Wolf,
Wolf, right?
which is this is great, right? Very very good. And then we also have so let's do type creature O counter
There
O.
are at least two artifact creatures that are one
Oh,
drops
there's
that.
Clockwork Beetle. Did you see this one?
Yeah,
This
there's the
one's
clockwork stuff. Yeah,
1 mana 3/3.
yeah,
And of course it does get smaller every time, but like on rate, it's pretty solid. This one might be worth considering.
yeah. I
Um,
think it's worth putting on the list. I am fairly certain we'll end up cutting it, but I think it's worth pulling anyway.
yeah, yeah.
There's two one drops, like iron something,
Iron
iron apprentice,
Apprentice and uh,
joust. No, it's
Joust. Yeah, I know what you're talking
sparring
about.
dummy or something
Sparring
like that.
dummy. Yeah,
That when they die, they spread counters.
yep. Sparring construct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So
there's a green one too, servant of the scale.
yep, that's
Oh, and
right.
there's a white one too in Strixhaven.
Yep, that one's a star pupil. So
Yeah, that's
servant
the
to the
one.
scale, when it dies, you put the counters on. Um, it's just a
Hmm.
complicated way of saying move the counters over.
Yeah, and a
Um,
lot of the times with these cards, like granted, like Servant enters with a counter, the Pupil enters with a counter, Sparring a spar or no, Sparring Dummy or whatever doesn't. But there's so many ways to put counters on things that I
yeah,
think we're going to be exploring that it's not going to be an issue.
yeah. So type creature O counter. Let's just O add +1 just to clarify um, that, and then let's do CMC is less than or equal to 3 um,
hmm
because we
Notably, like there's a lot of modular synergies that we can explore, but I'm not sure that's the
modular.
best way to go.
Yeah, so modular is interesting. I did take a peek at that earlier on, and it didn't seem to me that there were enough artifacts in the deck to reliably
Yeah,
make that good. And so we'll have to track and see if it does look like we have enough artifacts, then we should definitely play them. But if
yeah,
not, then those things not doing their thing is pretty sad.
right.
Um, so we had at the beginning. Nope, nope. This one is interesting. So this becomes a 3/3 when we play it off of Mentor,
I,
but it
yeah,
also gets a basic to like smooth out. It puts it on top. Oh my god.
yeah, it's not that good.
Oh, it's awful. Airlift Chaplain though, this one's interesting. This one is one where we might almost want to just mill everything over.
Possibly. Yeah, it depends how many creatures we have. But I think three CMC or less is where we like the sweet spot for us. So
Yep.
that's gonna be where we're gonna have a lot of hits.
Oh, graft.
Um,
Graft. Okay,
oh
so
yeah,
let's copy
yeah,
this
those
out
two.
and go graft real quick to just see what we've got here. There's a couple
There's
of
a
good
couple of good
ones.
graft ones. Yeah,
Simic Initiate. So this
Aquastrian Spider, Sporeback Troll is another one.
Yeah, Sportback Troll is great. These are all coming in, this one's coming in as a 3/3, this is coming in as a 2/2, this comes in as a
Yeah,
3/3 for 2. So they're just like
and
above rate.
yeah, and these ones want you to have more counters on them anyway, as a different function than attack and blocking, just because they can move counters around, and if you can
Oh,
keep putting counters
wow.
on them, yeah,
So wait, when you put so these are like higher orders of value too, because if you put one of these into play with Mentor, it gets another counter, and then everything that comes in is then
yeah.
it's
So
going to
like
move double the counters.
yeah, you play Mentor,
Wow.
and then you play Simic as Initiate, which has two counters because of Mentor. Then you cast another spell. You graft one counter from Initiate onto that creature. It turns into two counters.
Yeah, that's really these are orders
Yeah,
of magnitude of potency.
yeah,
Um,
they're great. The
Not to
huge one I'm not
mention,
sold on, but those three,
yeah,
Troll, Initiate, and Spider, I think are quite good.
uh-huh. Okay, good. So there's graft. Now let's go back to that search query here. We had Findhorn saying Rafine's informant competes for the two CMC
You're
slot.
jumping ahead, Brownie. You're jumping
Oh,
ahead.
that's right. Yeah, connive. I hadn't even
Yeah,
thought of
connive it.
that, but that's
There's just the one. It's just Rafine's
just
informant, I think.
Rafine's informant. Okay. Well,
hmm
when we get to that one, let's make sure I
Yeah.
don't miss it because that's a
Oh,
great
make sure you
recommendation.
grab a Crow and Skyguard, because
Crow
it's
and
very
Skyguard.
easy to lean into heroic stuff with this deck.
Okay. Yep.
You
That
just
seems
scroll
fine.
up a touch. Yeah.
Yep. And then we've also got, I mean, there's a whole bunch of these, right?
hmm
What about Blanchwood Prowler? This one's going to get us a land or become a 3/3.
It's not bad. I
Um,
actually think this card's underrated in general.
yeah. I like that it's getting us like smoothing out our draw, basically.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
think the modality is good. A backup agent I'd also pick up too. Like that kind of card, a backup agent,
Uh huh.
um,
I mean,
is
it's a
one.
3/3, right? So,
Yeah, it's a 2 mana 3/3.
yeah.
I think it's
Um,
worth setting aside all these cards and then kind of seeing what we need later.
right. We've got Bond Beetle. This seems like a slam
hmm
dunk.
Yep, easy.
Um, Chronicler of Heroes, amazing in this deck.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
good.
good. Just another 3 mana draw card kind of a thing.
Yep.
Um,
He comes in as a 3/3. He's big enough.
this is sort of hilarious. Weird. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact spell.
Stormkeeper, yeah.
Okay. Um,
Oh, Sentinel Druid's pretty good too. It's a little. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't think it fits here necessarily. Codespell Cleric, I think, might be quite good.
Enters the battlefield. If there's a second spell you cast this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I mean, that seems pretty easy, right? We just cast
hmm
something and cast this into it.
Yeah, especially I think we'll be trending on the lower side of the mana
Yeah,
value scale.
right.
So,
We do want some good one drops to fit in the
yep,
curve. Primarily, not necessarily on one, but on three. So we go third land
yeah.
and we go 2 drop, 1 drop, and then this one here. This one can only put counters on things that don't have a +1/+1 counter. I don't
Right.
like that.
No, I
Um,
don't think it's as good.
this is good. Deepwood Denizen does appeal to me a lot. I think this is going
Hmm.
to be tap 1 mana, tap it, draw a card in a lot of cases.
Right, because it counts quantity of counters, not
Yeah.
necessarily creatures with them. Yeah.
Yep. Dusk Shell Crawler, slam dunk.
Yeah. Easy.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's even coming in as a 2/5.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
the floor on this
2/5
card.
for 2?
Yeah.
Yikes. Um, this one requires it to die. We probably will have a lot of humans. Um,
I think.
it's
Yeah.
on the verge.
I'm not convinced on that one.
Yeah, we'll throw this one in
I
considering.
want to. I think part of the strength of a deck like this is minimizing the hoops you need to jump through to enable stuff.
Yep.
Just because everything is so powerful on its face. Um,
Fertilid?
oh, Fertilid, yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, this one might end up getting the cut if there's something more aggressive
Hmm.
that just does something more
Yeah.
relevant. But like on its face value with this, it's a 3 drop that's going to come in as a 3/3, and then it's going to have
Yep.
this ability to get our lands if we're missing them.
Hmm.
Flaming Fist Officer could be interesting too. Does require
Yeah.
it's a weird condition, you know,
Yeah. I mean, again, like leaving the battlefield,
not
I
as
don't
good.
want to find ourselves in a situation where like we need our things to get bigger, but our opponents are just like kind of choking us on resources by like not killing our stuff if we need to have power. Um, like you just want to remove that process.
Yeah, I think that's like we want to have the agency to do these things. We're not
We just
necessarily
want our
looking for
creatures to
Punisher.
do what we sleeve them up to do,
Yep,
right? Like we just want them to
exactly.
enter as 3/3s. Like
Yeah. We have
yeah.
Frontier Mastodon with Ferocious, which is another keyword we're going to want to, or no, actually, we're going to be looking for not Ferocious, but Formidable. Um,
That's an
probably
8
look at
power or more.
Formidable, 8 power. Yeah. This one +1/+1 counter if you have a power 4 or greater creature. So it would be a five
Yeah.
four. It's okay. Let's
I
throw that in
think
considering.
Null Hunter is a better
N-
card.
Oh, yeah. Null Hunter for sure. Spider Gnarlid Colony is going to be great.
Yeah.
I like
Yep.
the
And anything that says creatures with 1/1 counter get trample is worth putting in.
And then this one here, this just becomes a 4/4 for 4, which is not very good. Null
Nope.
Hunter, whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's great. Guardian Glade Walker seems great.
Yep. Again, just
Um,
a 2 mana 3/3. That's the floor on the card.
if you control a modified creature, so we have modified is another. Oh
Yeah.
God,
So I think it's
man,
a 3 mana 4/5.
yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Um, we've got Henge Walker. If 3 mana of the same color was cast it, put two +1/+1 counters on it, basically. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's all right. Iron Bully. So it's a 3/3 menace, kind of.
Yeah. For
It's
3 though.
yeah, 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 yeah. Iron Shell Beetle. We're a little more excited about 2 mana three
Yeah.
threes in this deck.
Hmm. Yeah. 2 mana
Um,
3/3 is what you want.
yeah. Uh, we got Jade Bearer is another Merfolk. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
Um, this one Juniper Order though, 3 mana
Yes. I
for
like that
4
card.
power. That's great. Yeah,
Yep.
like
And
that.
Kinsbell Courier is
Oof.
dope.
Kinsbale
And Knight of
Courier.
Mirrors,
Yeah,
dope.
all of these are bangers. Whenever nope, we don't want that one. Um, oh, this is good. Yep. Laguna Band. I am going to be just to mention. I think the heroic is going to be interesting because, like you were saying before, it's pretty easy for us to protect the engine because it's just Conclave Mentor, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's going to be our main focus. So I'm not sure. So we've got stuff like travel preparations. We've got Homestead Courage. There's a lot of
Yeah.
good cards
Like
of
if you think about it,
splashback.
a great way to think about the heroic creatures is Conclave Mentor really thrives when you have a spell that has like puts 1/1 counter, like a single counter on more than one target, right? And that's really gonna excel with creatures that just want to be targeted. Because
Yep.
with one spell, like with a travel preparations, with Conclave Mentor out, you're putting the spell puts one counter on two creatures. Conclave Mentor makes it two counters on two creatures. If
Right.
those creatures are heroic creatures, then it's three counters
That's
on
true.
on two creatures for 2 mana. It just
Yeah.
it explodes. And these creatures are like fine on their own. Like Laguna Trailblazer, worst case scenario, it'll block.
Well,
Like
yeah. Like
it's a fine creature. And
Lagana is gonna immediate like if it gets any counters on it that aren't heroic, there it's
mhm,
always gonna be two of them. So it will
yeah,
become a 2/6.
It's
Um,
so easy to enable the heroic creatures that I feel like it's silly not to at least include
yeah, I think that's fair.
the easy ones. Yeah.
I was even now I was looking at Lightwalker. This one says it has flying as long as you have a
Hmm.
+1/+1 counter on it. But the interesting thing here too is that not necessarily all of our stuff need have some sort of counter synergy, because there's
Right.
always just the idea of putting it on something else. And so a card like
Hmm.
putting those counters on like a Healing Hawk or a Battlefield Raptor or some sort of
Sure.
efficient one drop that has evasion, so like efficient one drop evasive creatures or like a core Skyfisher is going to be amazing in this deck. So
Hmm.
so like I don't know that we necessarily want this card, but it got me thinking about, well, like this doesn't have counters on it, but it gets something for having the counter. But wait a second, why wouldn't we just play like a 1/2 flying for one that we can make into a three, like a 3/4,
Right.
with any one of our training cards basically. These are
Mhm.
trainers, right? Um,
Yeah.
there's also Escape, which is funny. This is another one that like
Yeah.
comes.
That works.
Jeez, it's like there's for all the keywords that I put on the thumbnail, there's at least twice as many more. Like connive,
Yeah.
escape, support. Um,
Yeah.
so
Mere
yeah.
mere scrappling is one I'd want to include as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, the one thing that I like about this suite of cards is that it you have a lot of action very early. Um, so you can just like start doing stuff
What about
relatively
Makeshift
quickly.
Battalion? You're always attacking with
Makeshift
three things, so
battalion.
it's gonna put two +1/+1 counters on it every time it attacks with two other things.
Possibly.
That
Yeah, but yeah,
seems
it's
really
better than
good.
the mentor creatures, that's for sure.
Yeah. McKindy Shieldmate, whenever it
It's an
or
ally,
another.
yeah.
Let me put a oh nah, it's not that
Yeah,
good.
we're not doing allies, yeah.
Mentor Soul, Martyr Soul. No tap lands, so we have to convoke.
Invoke it entirely, yeah.
But
I don't think it's
convoke,
worth it.
no, I don't like
Mm,
convoke in aggressive decks unless you are
no.
tapping out, unless you're like um having a turn of like build up. Like I even saw a modern
Right.
deck recently where somebody was doing Loxodon Restorer,
Mhm.
I think it is, or Loxodon Cleric.
Venerated Loxodon?
Venerated Loxodon, yeah, in a Boros aggro deck,
Yeah.
and it was funny because every time he drew it, it was like, well, you could have also just swung for 13,
Mhm.
and it was leading to a bigger turn, but it was like
Yeah.
it just felt awkward, right? Like he had to tap
Yeah,
all of
like,
his
I
blockers.
like the convoke creatures a lot if you're trying to double spell or,
Yep.
like, pull ahead, but this is not
Yeah.
that's not what this deck
Oh, look
is
at this.
doing
We got Moss
necessarily.
Dog, Hound. I think not. Dog, Plant Dog,
That's
fully
right.
rata. Oh man. Okay, we got Mere Scrappling. Now tell me why you like Mere Scrappling. This thing is 1 mana for two +1/+1 counters on anything with our
Yep.
commander.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. I've played this with this card a lot in various decks, and the utility with it, I think, is really
I
interesting.
like that it's instant
Um,
speed and manaless, and we can kind of
yeah,
use it whenever we want.
yep, that's a
I
big part of it.
And it is 1 mana, so we can. So one of the ways this could work is that we go Mere Scrappling into Conclave
Hmm.
Mentor, and then we sack it to the Mentor, and we're gonna make it a 4/4.
Yeah,
So that
it'll save it from a
actually,
bolt or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like that. It's almost like a benevolent bodyguard
Hmm.
that we play out on turn one. Um, okay, so we got those. This one also is just a trainer. That's just literally the same thing when it or another ally comes into play.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
this?
a lot of the old allies do that.
What the hell? Okay, I don't know.
The vultures. Yeah.
This is okay. The Phantoms. Okay, so now we're getting into just like one of the really interesting cycles in this deck. These Phantom
Hmm.
cards are going to be so busted here
Yeah.
because we're just going to load them up with counters and they're never going to
Hmm.
die. Um,
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, and I by the way, I just want to say this is the one of the sets that I began playing Magic in, and these cards
Oh,
are
sure.
very nostalgic
Yeah,
to
they're
me.
tough. They're
Yeah,
tough.
like look at this one, man. This guy is just getting absolutely clapped by this. Frankly, it looks like a house cat mixed with a bear and a wolverine. It doesn't look
Yeah.
like a tiger to me. But we'll just leave that as it is. Pollen Bright Druid. Okay, so proliferate.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Palm Bright
This
Druid is
is
dope.
really gross.
It's very
Like,
powerful.
so proliferate. Okay, let's just do some like just like say we have turn one experiment one,
Yeah.
turn two mentor. It becomes a 3/3. The experiment one becomes a 3/3. It evolves. You get two counters. And then if we go like, say we play this on like turn 4 and we just have like 2 other creatures in play after that.
Hmm.
So 4 creatures, 5 creatures with the Pollen Bright.
Yeah, it's two
Proliferate is
counters on a
going
turn
to
one.
add
Yeah,
like how much power? Like
a lot.
it's
Yeah, and
so much.
that's what's fascinating about like a deck, and like what I said before about how like I really like decks that are heavy on theory and like the academic kind of stuff, is because like you get to this point where you're calculating like how much damage per mana you're adding to the board, and I think that's such like a really cool granular way to approach
Yeah.
like an aggro deck.
Yeah. Well, and especially like yeah, like the synergy this is going to convert to like 10 damage if you get like
Hmm.
one swing off, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a
you're going
lot
to
like
get
I
a
don't know
lot
if you're
more.
familiar with like read the Philosophy of Fire article
Yep.
from
Oh
ages
yeah.
ago.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like I mean that's something that I love. I love that piece. It's I mean fantastic, and
Yeah.
you can take those principles and very cleanly slot them into a deck like this.
Pride Malkins, another house like
Yep,
this card
great.
coming in as a 4/3
Yep.
trample that gives everything trample. It's like,
Yeah, and keep in mind
wow.
when you say that it enters as a 4/3, that is the floor on the
Yeah,
card.
that's
Like
true.
that is a worst case scenario for the
Yeah.
card,
Yeah, like you could put this on something else. You could I mean there's
and
so
not
many
just a
different
4/3,
ways.
a 4/3 trampler, right?
4/3 trampler. Yeah, and the dynamic ability to move these things around too is just really strong.
Hmm.
So definitely like a lot of that. Um, okay, so we've got this one here. Uh,
Grove Dancer, another
it's
two
kind
mana
of
3/3.
oh yeah, yep, that's right. Scrounging Bandar is really good.
Yes, because you are going to double your counters, just like with Graft.
Yep, yep. It's basically
Hmm.
graft. This card has a weird
Yeah,
form of graft on it that is upkeep based, basically. So,
yeah, it's like
um,
Forgotten Ancient.
yeah, but we're gonna want to load this up with counters, and then we're gonna move
Yep,
those counters over and upkeep, and you can move any
because you
number
can
of them, like
right.
like travel preparations on this thing, and then just like distribute the counters. It's just like onto it over everything else. Is pretty
Yeah, well, I
good.
think you can only move them to one creature per upkeep. Any number of
On
counters are made
any
onto
oh
another
onto
target creature.
another. Oh, so it'll be
Yeah,
one every turn.
but even still,
It's an engine.
uh,
Okay, okay,
it doubles your counters
yeah,
basically.
yeah. This is a
You just
two.
like launder them through the Bandar.
This is a 2/2. Oh, that's actually kinda nice. That's like a little
Shine
bit
Wind.
of, tech.
Yeah, Shine Wind's good.
I'll destroy enchantment tech here.
Hmm.
Um, this one
It's a
puts
tap
2
in.
+1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
So 3 every time you target it.
Hmm. It starts out small, but I mean, you target it once and
It's
it's.
huge. 4/4.
Hmm.
Spike drone. The drones. Yeah, they're
Spikes
good. I
are
mean,
good.
like, it's gonna come in as a 2/2.
I like Spike Drone,
I don't
maybe
know.
Spike
Spike
Worker,
worker is
depending
a
on what our
3/3
curve
for
looks
3.
like. But they move counters. That's
Yeah,
another
that's
like
the thing.
it's back to that thing where yeah, laundering your counters to multiply them.
Laundering. That's a great
Yeah,
that's a
that's what you're doing.
yeah, it is. It's counter laundering. That would have been a great name for the thumbnail too.
But we
Spike
can rename the deck when we're done.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, counter launderer. The spike worker I think might make the cut just because it is like on rate and because that moving
Yeah.
counters is so good and just
Yep, that's where my head's at.
yeah. What? Oh, each color to cast it. Okay. This one's
So there are a
dies.
couple. Yeah, Stalwart I don't like so much. Scythe
Landfall
Cat, and
though.
there are a couple landfall ones.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a lot of potential. I mean, we want to be cautious about the 3 drop slot.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, we're gonna be
it's
pretty bloated.
yeah, for sure. But like this again, like it's a repeatable source of it, right? So like
Hmm.
every turn, and it could
Yeah,
be
and keep
more if we have
scaling.
like evolving wilds or something like that. I think this one does deserve consideration. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, throw it on the list.
this one comes in as a 2/5 for 3 mana.
Yeah, I don't think it's good enough.
Nope. Yep. Uh, we've got so the energy cards are interesting because when they attack, they're all going to get plus. So they're going to get +2/+2. So 4/5 for
Hmm.
3. It's actually pretty damn good.
It needs to attack though. But yeah,
It probably
like
will. You
yeah. I
know,
mean, the other one, the snake one is obviously better just because it enters
right?
with the counter. But yeah, I mean, worth considering.
Timbaland.
Yeah,
Yep, we got Timbaland here. This one
Yep.
will they go in. We've got this one is kind of interesting. Just have a little passive life gain in the deck. It's a 3 mana 4/4. Um,
Yeah.
maybe we'll throw this one in considering. We've already got life gain in our command zone, so
Wolvenwald Bear is a fun one. Um,
it does require something of us. It puts 3+1/+1 counters with our commanders, so it's a 3 mana 5/5.
so
Um,
if we're attacking with large creatures, and people are blocking,
something will die.
doesn't seem. Yeah, I mean, granted, like it, not to go back too much on what I said about like not trying to jump through hoops to enable our cards, but like a 3 mana 5/5 is pretty good.
Yeah, Unholy Efficient's kind of interesting because it's a one
Yeah,
drop.
mana sinks are good, and
I
it has
like
vigilance
that.
if we want to
Yeah.
target it with
And
something.
we can load
Yeah.
this up with counters for the vigilance, which I
Hmm.
think is going to be great.
Yeah.
Wings, I mean, yeah, right. Like
Well,
this
I guess it only puts
heroic,
counters on itself, right?
right? But it's kind of a mana sink. If we have
Yeah,
nothing else to do, we can
that's
just
true.
put 2+1/+1 counters on it every time,
Yep.
and it base is just a 1/2 with vigilance. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, so that was a pretty good search there. Let's go reel it back here a little bit. We've got 57 cards now, and our curve is looking pretty good actually. We probably want this one drop slot to be a little bit higher. So let's go CMC equals one function evasion type creature. Um,
Hmm.
I got some really positive feedback on this last time I did it in a video, so I do want to highlight this again for those of you who are unfamiliar with or not as experienced with Moxfield. Um, there's some nuances you should know about it, and one of it is that this search engine here is using Scryfall code, and what that means is that the syntax and this advanced code that we're using, these abbreviated things, are a really powerful tool for identifying great fits for your deck. And one of the more exciting features of Moxfield, or really of Scryfall, is that there are people who have gone out and tagged cards individually with functions, and these functions are under terminology that is like common parlance. So, for example, mana dork is actually a function, or evasion is a function, or mana rock, or removal, or edict, or bounce, draw. All these things are really good ways of finding cards really quickly that might have a certain function, but maybe there are lots of different cards that draw, but they have different kinds of text, and it would be hard to do it with Oracle text. So if it was like
Yeah.
O draw or O counters, like O counters can be kind of complicated because that can be counter spell, or it can be counters as in the the modification to a creature. So in this case, we're using function evasion, which means we're looking for a CMC. Or MV is also equivalent here. You'll see this will do the same thing. MV1 function, it has evasion, which would be flying, menace, unblockability, things like that. It is a type creature, and then we can see what comes up. So Battlefield Raptor is the one I was thinking. This is first strike right
Yep.
now is Noyark, who may actually be lurking in this video right now. Will tell you first strike is really relevant right now.
It's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for that is the gut decks. Being able to
Yep.
line up any blocker plus a first striker is going to allow you to consistently eat those
Yep.
those gut tokens, and what that translates to is that the gut player may just decide to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that's really good for us because we're also an aggro deck, and we think that they should be going at somebody else anyway. So
Right.
so that's good. Um, this one here can't be blocked by power 3 or greater. We definitely want bodyguard. This is auto
Yep.
include. Um, Fairy Guide Mother could go in the deck for the heroic
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Um,
If we're leaning more into the heroic stuff, then
yeah.
sure.
Hey, Travis, what's up? Glad to have you in chat. Thanks for joining us. He says this is the most awesome color pairing. Yeah, yeah. This color pairing doesn't always get the hugest amount of love in competitive Pauper
Yeah.
Commander because it tends to lack card advantage, and so whatever you're doing with these colors needs to be pretty powerful, and it's usually going to come from the
Right.
command zone. And so
Yep.
it's going to be pretty command zone centric. Good examples of this would be Satyr Enchanter. We have Hamza, and then this Conclave Mentor, I
Yeah.
think, will be there too.
When push comes to shove, at the end of the day, the best card advantage you have is killing your opponent with a hand of 7 cards. So,
There you go.
uh,
Yep.
yeah.
And that can be difficult, I think, in this current, just because you have other players, right?
Hmm.
And if they and so the trick is like what we're leveraging in this deck is the ability to rise above the threats at the table because they're all growing so much. So like the
Yeah.
card advantage is actually we're really measuring resource advantage because we're building up a board
Yeah.
of stuff that isn't likely to get swept up in a fiery cannonade. Almost nothing in our deck is going to die to fiery cannonade or to breath weapon. Crypt
Yeah.
rats and pestilence will have to be very big to kill our creatures. So
Yep.
yeah,
And we're already looking to create like a life total disparity
yeah,
anyway. So
yeah,
like, yeah, it's a matter of like taking into account how much mana you're spending for what you're doing, right?
yep.
Um, and
This
we're trying to push damage, and it's very easy to spend very little mana to generate lots of power.
Yeah, totally. So fairy guide mother is this it's evasion.
You can certainly
We're
consider it. Yeah,
getting a little buff. We're getting a 1/1. We could throw that in. Ginger brute maybe. Um
maybe.
yeah, ginger brute being a tax on your mana every turn is something that I'm not as high on. It ends
Right.
up
Me
kind
too.
of being the same thing as like a small creature that can only attack sometimes, which is kind of what
Hmm.
it is, right?
Yeah,
So um, Healer's Hawk could be an option too, just in another.
like Healer's Hook. Yeah, just a thing with keywords.
Yeah, yeah. 1 mana, 1/1 flying is
Stuff that
really
holds on
good.
to counters well is good.
hmm Loyal Pegasus. Um, it's
I mean, I
never
like the card. I
attacking
don't know if it
alone.
fits. I don't know if it fits here specifically, or if it, like
We
is a
might
standing home for it. It's a good card.
end up needing to play some of Bloodthirst. God, dude.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Wow.
Pit Skulk is good.
That's
I mean,
really good. This is
yeah,
unblockable.
basically. It's
Shadow,
a one win. Yeah, little.
unblockable. Um,
Yeah, Segovian
wow.
Angel's good. Yeah, these cards
Dude,
are.
what about these creatures that make everything block too? We just like load everything on like all the counters onto
So, like, here's an interesting question. So, like, we've talked a lot about like creatures that enter with counters and how they enter as like 2 mana, 3/3, 2 mana, 4/4,
Right.
whatever. What if it's just a matter of like exercising our
Yeah,
counter
yeah.
production on spells and
Yes.
loading up like one
Yeah,
drops
yeah. That's kind
instead
of
of
what I
like those
was
creatures?
you're really thinking on the same wavelength that started with
Yeah,
that thought where I was looking at that 2/2/1 flying where I was like, "Oh, wait a
yeah.
second, but what if we just like loaded up a 1/2 vigilance flying creature?" Right? It doesn't need to
Hmm.
necessarily be that we put it on the creature. We
Sure.
might and we could, but we could also just not and put it on something else.
There's also some really good like. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
So yeah, so like what else do we have here? Because there's like
I will
there
say, so something to consider if we're looking to be winning by attacking. Cards like Taunting Elf, I have a very high appreciation for.
yes,
Um,
that's kind of the next line of thinking here is if we make this a 5/5, we're going to potentially like we might repeatedly slaughter somebody's board. You know, like
like if
they
we have a
might not
Taunting
be able
Elf
to.
that is on, yeah, if we have a Taunting Elf that won't die in combat,
Yep,
you
yep.
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and we have, like, protection spells. I like it.
mhm,
This deck isn't gonna have great removal, and so having ways that are, like, threats that we
yeah,
can use to, like, chew through people's board is gonna be good. And look,
mhm,
if this thing dies, it's a 1 drop.
yeah.
I don't know if we care.
And
You know,
that's the other
it's
thing. Like when we're trading a 1 drop for a 2 drop, a 3 drop, like as long as we're trading up, like that's another way to eke out advantage, right?
now is Conclave Mentor a knight or a soldier?
Centaur.
Cleric?
It might be. It's either cleric or soldier. I
Can we
think.
can
I'm not
we
entirely sure.
can we clarify
Yeah, let
this?
me.
It is a cleric. Damn. I was hoping that we'd be able to play the War Falcon
Yeah.
here because that's a great
Oh,
great
that'd be
card.
nice.
I have a feeling this Loyal Pegasus is actually where we want to be. Like it
Hmm.
almost
Yeah, quite
never going to
possibly.
be alone, right? It's just a one mana 2/1 flying. Um,
Yeah.
I this another like 1/2 flying. I think the ones here that like vigilance. This one really strikes me as good. Shadow
Yep.
being unblockable is so good right now.
Yep.
Um, there's the lifelink, which seems really
Yep.
good. Um,
Pit Skulk is one that kind of surprised me.
yeah,
I
Pit
didn't
Skull, that
remember that
was
card.
not on my radar at all. We've got can't be blocked except for creatures with flying. Is that the same thing as flying? What is?
No, because it does not have flying. So yeah, it just can't be blocked except for the creatures that are flying. It's the same thing as like Solana Ledgewalker.
Okay.
Spire Tracer is the other one. Spire Tracer has different templating because it's flying. It says flying or reach, just because this is a card that was printed after reach was keyworded. and the other two were printed before Reach was keyworded.
Well,
Um,
speaking of which,
yeah,
Solana Ledgewalker,
yep,
right?
hexproof stuff's good.
Anything with hexproof, right? So type
Plate
creature,
cover
oh,
scout.
hexproof. I think I added a weird, yeah,
There's like a 3/3 for 4. There's also I think
there's a
there's
few.
oh, wait a second. There's a merfolk, that
Yeah,
enters
it's
with a counter. It's a
the
4 mana
Jungle
hexproof
Board
thing.
Pioneer.
No,
Uh,
Jade Guardian.
oh, Jade Guardian. This one here. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Hexproof
Mhm.
is going to be strong here, making a hexproof creature big. Um,
Yeah, and that one can I mean, it'll put 2 counters on itself, so it's a 4/4 hexproof for 4.
this one makes a 1/1 hexproof creature. Um, so it's like two bodies, and it's making that. Um, although
I
maybe
don't
in that case
I
we
don't
would
think it's
just
good
go
enough.
for the wolf then instead,
Yeah,
because it's the
or yeah,
same
or
power. Well, this is
yeah,
actually 3 power versus this is a 3/1. Um, I don't know if these are premium. This is premium. That's
I don't
premium. This is
I don't
premium.
think yeah, I don't think the rest of them are.
Okay. Dread Norm. We're never casting this for its full cost. Um,
Yeah, it's a good
well,
spell though.
3+1+1 counters. Untap it. Hexproof.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm not sure how often we'll have 4 mana up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Um, like our protection suite is going to be a kind of a different things.
Yeah, we wanna keep it as trim as possible.
Yeah, Robocon mentioned Bloodthirst. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
funny. Bloodthirst was a really, fundamental part of the 60 card Pauper meta for a long time because of Skargan Pit Skulk and,
Yeah.
Monogreed Stompy. Um, but I don't know if any of these.
Gorkland Savage is like a fun,
Wow. So this thing comes in as a
6,
six
7.
seven. It's just big though, right? Like,
Yeah, it's just big.
yeah, it's just big. I don't know if we can justify that. Now we've added a bunch
No,
of
I
one
don't think
drops.
so.
That looks a lot better.
Yeah,
That's a
I
lot
like the
better.
1-drops.
Yeah. Um, and this. Okay, now let's go. So type creature, CMC equals 4. I don't think we want anything more than 4.
Mm-mm, I don't think so either. Unless it has to be, like, outstanding.
Yeah, it's got to be like such a banger. Um, okay, so like Basri's acolyte type stuff.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of cards like this,
So,
that
I mean, Basri's acolyte versus Celebrity Fencer. Now that they're like sitting side by side, it's kind of interesting to compare because
mm,
Celebrity Fencer makes itself big and only itself big, and it requires other things to happen. Basri's
yeah.
acolyte comes in and it immediately puts 4 power on the table, other than itself.
Yeah, this goes back to what I was saying earlier where, like, we wanna prioritize effects that create multiple counters across multiple
ETBs
targets.
basically. So, like,
Yeah,
I think that is actually better than
probably
Celebrity
better.
Fencer.
Yeah, I
And
think
there's
it takes this,
there's one that's even better than this.
veteran silversmith or
Oh,
something
here's
like that.
another one that gives trampled everything.
Yeah.
That's probably good enough. Shield Mate. Nope.
Mm.
Amplify. Wait, what? Another one. Cards it comes into. I didn't even know. I don't know what Amplify is. It comes into play with a plus
Amplify,
one.
that one's not gonna I don't think we're gonna get far on that one,
Oh,
but
because it's a tribal. Uh huh.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a soldier thing.
Here's another one. The Silversmith. Put two plus
Yeah,
one plus one
that's
counters.
what I was thinking of.
Yep. Um.
Acolyte's better. I don't know how many of them we wanna
Where's
run, but,
Acolyte?
Bashir's
Oh,
Acolyte,
Basri's Acolyte. Yeah. Yeah.
it's the same card except Acolyte I think has lifelink, so
Ivy
I don't
Lane
think it's
Denizen is really gross
yeah.
in this deck.
Mhm.
That does deserve the slot, even though it is 4 mana and it does take other things to happen.
Yep.
It's the ability to distribute these counters that we really like.
Right.
Um, this one's interesting. We can channel this uncounterably, putting 1 counter on up to 2 different things.
Yeah, I like that. I mean,
That's
that's kind of the most powerful incarnation of these effects is the one where you put 1 counter on each show up to 2 things.
Yeah. This is 3 mana, put 4 power on the field uncounterably. Now it
Mhm.
doesn't. It's not going to be. It's not going to trigger heroic,
Right.
which is kind of interesting. So we'll keep that in mind. Um, let's see. Oh, wait. Oh, oil counters. Never mind. I was like, wait, what is this? Um, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna make it. By the way, just as like a because we're already at how many cards are we at here? Um,
What?
a lot. Yeah, like quite likely this won't. I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
this in considering and then pull it
Okay.
from the main. Um, inspired. There's another weird one. Jeez. Whenever it untaps.
Yeah.
Here's another
Oh yeah. That's
landfall.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It's expensive. But okay, so each kind, yeah, this is proliferate, right? Yeah.
Um,
Enters the battlefield for each kind of counter on target permanent. Put another one of its kind and remove.
it targets one thing, so it just gives a thing one counter.
Wait, for each kind of counter on. Oh, just one permanent.
Right. So it depends on how
Oh,
many different kinds of counters it has.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what else do we have here? Thriving ibex.
Mm.
Trusty retriever. Nope. Um, yeah, I think we are. Well, that's kind of interesting.
Vulpigate. Interesting one.
So if we put this on like a 1/1, then it becomes a base 2/3, and then it gets
No, it
all the
becomes a four
counters.
five.
I mean, yeah. So like it
Yeah.
if you right, it's pretty good, and that's assuming it doesn't have counters on it already, right? So
Right.
if we're
Right.
taking a 1/1, this is actually pretty significant.
And we don't need to mutate it any more than that. Like we don't have to
Yeah,
lean into
just
mutate stuff at
once,
all. It just yeah,
just
it's good in
once.
a vacuum.
Yep, I like that a lot. That's like the weird card where it's like this card is just generically if it's
Yeah.
like, but like here, pretty good, pretty damn good.
Well, let me tell you, like, I mean, I've played decks where I've mutated a thing into a Dreamtail Heron or whatever, the one that draws a card, 3/4 flyer that draws a card,
Yep.
and it's just like it's good. I mean, just turning your creature into a 3/4 flyer
Three,
is
four
really good.
flyers win limited games.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's really interesting about Pauper Commander is that this format is like Commander limited
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. The cards that are good are often
Yeah.
going to be cards that you would recognize in limited, where you're like, oh, I played that in limited.
Right.
Um, and yeah, and they're good there.
So
This is the one I
this
was looking for.
these are my favorite
Support.
cards for this
Look
deck.
at
Yeah.
Relief Captain.
These
Three,
cards are great.
two, put 6 power on 3 creatures, basically.
Like
So
Captured by Legax, Lead by Example, Relief Captain.
yeah, all of
Like these
these.
cards are all great.
This one here is great.
Saddleback Legac is awesome. Yeah,
This
they're all
one maybe
just
does not make the cut. It's a little spendy, 5 mana here.
yeah, that's the
Um,
one that I'd probably not include, but the rest of them I really like. Like think about
um,
how much power Saddleback Legac adds to the board. Like and that's it. That's like kind of the middling one here.
oh
So
yeah,
it's a 3 power creature that adds it's 7 power for 4 mana across 3 bodies.
and shoulder to shoulder, drawing us a card as well.
Yeah, cantrips.
Yeah. Um, somebody look at the thumbnail and tell me. Well, I guess I'll look at the thumbnail.
But like
Oh,
lead by example is like the perfect example of a card that we want for this deck.
oh, I forgot about renown.
I'm not sure what there is that common for renown. There's
It's
Token
really
Freeblade,
good. Yeah,
which is
Topin
pretty good,
Freeblade.
but
Yeah,
yeah, there's a like
yeah,
it's a vigilance creature, I
yeah,
think, right?
yeah. And then this one too, Stalwart Aven. The moment it hits, it's going to
Oh yeah,
become a 3/5 flying, and when it hits again,
yeah.
it's
It's tough
going
to
to
be.
become a five
I know
seven.
it only gets the
Oh, it only
counter
does it
once.
once. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's not bad.
Open Freeblade I think is obviously quite good
Yeah,
in this context. The only
yeah.
one that I think would interest me a little bit here is Farika's Disciple because of the Death Touch and how many
Uh,
ways we have to give trample to things.
sure is 4 mana though.
It sure is, yeah.
Sure he is.
Yeah, but Open Freeblade I think is an obvious choice here.
Okay, yeah, Stalwart Aven. I want to keep this on my watch list here too. The evasion there, as well as just
Yeah,
how big
Evasion
it's going to
is great.
get. Yeah, so
Yeah, toughness is so important. Just in general, I love high toughness creatures. They're just so hard to kill.
yeah, they're hard to kill, and in this format, like yeah, there's limits there. I want to
Hmm.
find stuff that when it hits, it gets counters, and
Oh,
that it
sure.
doesn't stop getting counters. Like Slith Ascendant, dude. This card, I remember getting
Yeah.
this was like Invasion, right? When this
Oh,
first came out?
Phantom Flock I downshifted too. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, Phantom Flock. We don't have that in here, do we?
No, it's a little spendy though, but
It's a little spendy. It comes
might be
in
good enough. Who
5
knows?
counter 4 counters, so it's a 4/4 flying
Yeah, we
that, like,
consider it.
essentially never dies.
Yeah.
It never dies, but
Like
it's 5 mana. I
in
mean,
order to remove a counter from it, you have to block the 4/4 flyer, and like nobody wants to lose
no,
creatures to that thing over and over
no.
again.
Now, I will say Slith Ascendant here, this card,
That card can get
um
out of hand real quick.
yeah. Could you imagine this with, like, Double Strike or something? Um, if we had the ability to do that,
Yeah.
but, like, even on its own, like, the first time it hits, it's gonna become a 3/3. The thing is that it's gonna hit for
Hmm.
1 and then become a 3/3, hit for
Yeah.
3 and then become a 5/5, so it's kinda
Yeah.
slow. Kinda slow.
Yeah. But it just gets better,
It
you
just
know.
gets better and
And
better.
a 3/3 flyer is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. And we could always load this up too,
Hmm.
although I think the idea would be that we wouldn't because we don't wanna incentivize people to, like,
Yeah, we
kill the
wouldn't need
one
to.
thing. We don't need to, yeah, it's just getting bigger. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think we've gone pretty deep there. Chat, let us know if we've missed anything counters related that,
As far as creatures go, well, there's a lot of
yeah,
spells like we don't have travel preparations
yeah,
or what is
or
it?
Homestead
Courage,
Courage.
Homestead Courage. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are obviously home runs.
yeah, these are great cards. So, sorry I'm going through this fast chat, but, just wanna make sure we, you know, use this time well. Homestead
Travel
Courage.
preparations is kind of the card that inspired me to like look at this
And this is
card.
gives vigilance too. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
just
does.
so let's go type. So we'll do parentheses type instant. This is where you get to remember your math. Your math. I don't
There's
know
a
what you.
lot of like 1 mana instants that like put a counter on something and untap it in green. Maybe like some quantity of that effect. I mean, I don't know how much room we're gonna have, but we'll see.
So +1. Okay. So oh, dude, there's some really big ones. I'm just realizing. Um,
Yeah, it's an effect that like you see a lot of, but it never sticks just because it's like no one pays attention to this stuff.
yeah, yeah. Cave of
Yeah,
Temptation is kind of funny. But
yeah.
like this one here, 3 mana, put.
Common bond. Yeah.
But like it's a little weird though too because it's 3 mana, right?
Hmm.
Um, duel for dominance, 3 different
Like burst to
powers.
strength is what I was thinking of, like
Well,
that
duel
kind of
duel for
effect.
dominance is really good.
Oh yeah.
You just need Coven. That's good.
Hmm.
Yep, we can do Coven. Gaia's Gift here, great.
Oh yeah. Feat
Uh,
of resistance
dude,
is a
Hunger of
good
the
one.
Howl pack. Put 4
Oh
+1/+1
yeah,
counters on
yeah.
something with
Or
Morbid.
implement of ferocity, like put two counters on and draw a card. I mean, it's an artifact, but like
Yeah,
it
that's
does a
not.
thing.
Yeah, and then Feat of Resistance, protection spell that puts 2 +1/+1 counters on.
Yeah. There's one
Um,
in Dominator United. Take up the shield, I think it's called. It gives the thing indestructible and a 1/1 counter. And
life
lifelink too for some
Life
reason.
Crafter's Gift.
Oh yeah.
Heavy breath.
But then you also have cards like Light of Hope, which is like a fantastic card in a deck like this. It's like it's modal. It does three things. One of which is like your primary game plan, anyways. Like the default is fine.
Yep.
Um, but it also kills pestilence or whatever, you know.
Mutant Spray. This is good in the deck. 1 mana, fight and kill something.
Yeah.
Although fighting does mean that whatever it fights in, whatever it goes into combat with is going to be able to trade off with it. Probably.
Oh, maybe not.
It is
These things are gonna
instant.
be our creature's gonna be pretty big. So
That's true. I think 1 mana is making this really appealing.
yeah,
And plus,
yeah,
dude, this
exactly. Yeah,
look at
the
this
price of
art.
admission is very low for that
Look at
card.
this art.
Yeah, it's dope. Get it in there.
Crazy, dude. This thing is. I don't know what this thing is. I can't. Are those eyes?
It's
Where are its eyes? Does
I
it
don't
have
know.
eyes? Okay. Moving on. We've got um, Otherworldly Journey.
mm, I don't
Uh,
know. I'm less
uh,
high on those things because they remove it
they
for the whole
remove our
turn, right?
counters, right?
And that's the thing that happens a lot with flicker decks is it's tough to maintain pressure
Yeah.
because your things have summoning sickness.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. And
um,
it's why you frequently don't want to use flicker cards in
Yep.
decks where your combat damage matters because it's taking you out
Yep.
of combat. So
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, you
yeah,
have to be very intentional about it,
yeah,
and we don't have the room to do that with a deck like this.
yeah, right.
Um, uh,
We've got take up the shield.
oh, Test of Faith. Have you seen Test
Oh,
of Faith?
Test of Faith is a crazy card, dude. I've
This card's a house.
Yeah, I've used Test of Faith in a couple of decks. In fact, I used to play Test of Faith in in a Tethmos High Priest deck.
What
Speaking
happened
of
to that?
which, we should put that card in here. Tethmos High Priest,
Yes. Yeah, that's the heroic one that I always forget about because
dude.
it doesn't give counters. I love
So
Tethos High Priest.
people would go
Normal Back
like
Rhino actually is a card that could go in this deck too, by the way.
people would go like Galvanic Blast targeting the Tethmos, and I'd be like Test of Faith and like put put 4+1/+1 counters on, or three
Yeah.
plus one counters, and then like return a creature from my graveyard.
Yeah.
So
And all our
this
creatures
actually,
are gonna fall into that, purview of 2 seems to or less, right? Most of the ones that we care about anyway.
the only thing
But yeah,
is
take up the
it
shield.
is 2 mana, right? So
It's a little
like
bit base,
having
but
1 mana like protection stuff that's actual protection as opposed to just
yeah. I
protect
mean, it depends on
3.
how cute we wanna get with it, but it's very powerful. Like, the ceiling on the card's very
Yeah,
high.
yeah.
Um,
Titanic
but make sure we
Brawl
get
is great.
Titanic Ball, take up the shield, make sure we get that in there.
Oh, really? So 2+2/+2 lifelink indestructible, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great protection spell. That we
Unbounded
can use aggressively.
potential. Unbounded potential is
Yes, that card is
really,
awesome.
really good. Wow,
It's very
proliferate
good.
too?
And it puts a counter on 2
Ooh.
things. Yeah, it does everything we
Oh,
want.
fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, so it's funny because proliferate makes cards like Lifecrafter's Gift seem woefully overpriced because proliferate
Yeah.
is just that. It's just like
Yeah.
put a +1/+1 counter on everything. Just do it.
Yeah.
Like
Well, there's
where
also yeah, like, I think also when you look at sorceries, which we should do because there's a lot of really great
this is
ones.
sorceries too.
Oh, is it?
Yep, type
Because
instant or sorcery.
I think you spelled sorcerer. Are you sure? None of these are
Sorcery.
sorceries. None of these cards are sorceries.
Type instant or oh sorcery. Dang it. Okay, so now let's go back and we'll just look for sorcery. I did
Yeah.
Oracle text sorcery. That's why it didn't come up.
Because there's a lot of very powerful ones. Smell Fear is one that comes to
Yeah.
mind.
Okay.
It's a 5
Courage and
spell that
Crisis is
proliferates.
like insane. Put a +1/+1 counter and then proliferate. We get
Yeah.
Awaken. Awaken works in this deck for some
Yeah.
reason.
Granted,
Like,
like, these are sorceries, so they're obviously not as powerful, but, like,
yeah.
they're very powerful.
Two
They're
plus one
definitely
plus
worth
one
being
counters.
sorceries.
Um, Yeah, Finhorn says Tales of Master Shishiro is worth considering. Yeah, we could look into that one. It is 5 mana, which we're gonna
Yeah.
want to be really careful about, but it is very good. And we talked about this
Yes.
earlier. It's +2/+2, +2/+2, and these are counters that stay there. And when it flips, it's a 5/5 haste
With
vigilance.
vigilance, yeah.
Like the saga cards are problematic in some ways because they're so slow, but when you take that away and give it haste and vigilance, I
Mhm.
don't know. 5/5 is really big to be hasty and
Something
vigilant.
interesting, go down to Guiding Voice.
Feral contest. Oh, jeez.
So, like, I think another thing that gets lost
Wait,
in the shuffle
guiding
a lot with
voice? Where is that?
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it
here.
go up. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a card so Learn is something that I feel like people shrug off a lot of the time. It just
Looting.
is a loot attached to your
Mm.
spell.
It
We don't
is
need a
rummaging.
oh, sure. We don't need, like, a board attached to it, like, or, like, we don't need any lessons. It's just, it filters a card.
Oh man, when are we
Um,
gonna get a learn board? When are we gonna get learn boards in Pauper Commander? I think that
I
would
don't
be
know.
so freaking cool.
It would be pretty cool.
Yeah, to have lessons available to us. I always thought that was a big miss in Commander that they didn't
Yeah,
do
like
something
wish
like
boards
that.
and stuff. I
Yeah,
mean, I see the arguments for and against it, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, wish boards I do like a lot.
yeah, for sure.
Or not wish boards,
The learn board
lessons. But
lessons, yeah,
yeah,
because the thing is that the lessons we have access to aren't a problem. None of them would be a problem,
yeah,
right? They would all be like just this thing that you would have access to where like every deck could just have a way to make something a little bit bigger and give it vigilance,
yeah.
right? Which would be kind of interesting. Um, okay, so
We got
Elven
Homestead Courage
Right.
already.
This seems like way
Elvenright,
worse than like
it's
Homestead
much worse
Courage.
than the other ones. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I don't think we need it.
We're gonna throw it in
If I'm being
considering
honest.
though.
Yeah,
We got courage. These are all expensive. Wow, each is that's a well. There is one version of this that I do want us to look at, and that's Silver Flame Ritual, which gives
oh, sure.
everything vigilance and
Yeah,
+1/+1
and it can.
counters. Yeah.
Yeah, scale the height seems
Wow,
decent.
recommission is nuts in this deck.
Recommission is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could you imagine this with some of like with the Pride Malkin or something?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
because doesn't so now tell me if I'm wrong on this, but recommission It's saying it's entering the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. It means that doesn't that get amplified differently than the Pride Malkin? Because the Pride Malkin's a trigger. This one
Mhm.
is just entering the battlefield with a counter. So one
Mm,
of so recommission says it comes in with a counter, right? It's entering
yeah,
the battlefield with a counter on it. Pride Malkin
right.
says once it enters the battlefield, you get a trigger to put a counter on it. Those are two different instances, right?
I wanna say that it is. I'm not, you know, a judge or anything like that, but that sounds correct to me.
Hey, it sounds good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because it's a trigger,
yeah,
and recommission obviously is not a trigger by
not a
default
trigger. Yeah,
effects.
that's gas. Scale the heights is kind of cool. I don't know how much we need these other effects though. So it's like
Yeah, the things that we have to put counters on stuff is already so powerful that, like, this one's obviously not. It just kind of cantrips and gives us a land drop, which we may not need.
Silver Flame Ritual. This one's great. The Vigilance I think is going to be super powerful.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's a good, like, overrun kinda card.
and then Struggle for Skemfar. I don't think is going to make the time either. Travis
Mm-mm.
says ramp time. You know, yeah, yeah, that one does. It is kind of ramping us. I don't think we're gonna have a lot of ramp in this deck though.
I don't think we'll need it. Our curve's gonna be low enough to where we'll be able to, like,
Yeah.
deploy a lot of stuff very effectively.
Now let's just take a look here too because we may have missed something. What about type enchantment? So let's do uh type enchantment or type artifact, and let's just see what else we may have missed here. Armory of
Like,
Erois. Um,
actually, no, it's Transmit Grant.
yeah, that card. Wow, look at that art though. That's the kind of magic I grew up with.
That's right.
That was a card that came in the box of Giraffe Chaff my uncle gave me
Mhm.
when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Um, oh, we have yeah, forced adaptation, ferocity. We also have predatory hunger. Um,
Oh, Great Sword of Tear seems good, doesn't it?
yeah, Great Sword of Tyr was one that was on my list, but I forgot about it until now. This is nuts.
Yeah.
Very good. This one's kind of interesting too. Actually, I was kind of looking at this one.
Oh,
Just
Ecologist Terrarium?
yeah, like
Mhm.
I don't know.
That gets you land and
Yeah, like just cards that like smooth things out for us, right? Travis says there's that one
yeah.
mana one that proliferates or finds a land. Yeah, that card is
Yeah,
100% going to
we
go in the
haven't
deck.
even touched,
Yeah,
like,
we're damn it,
the
dude. We're going to be
proliferate
like
stuff.
200 cards into this deck.
That's okay. Hey, look, we've been there before.
Yeah, we made it out alive.
Mhm.
Yep. And in fact, we made some pretty dang cool stuff. So
Yeah,
this is what the people are here for.
that's
Um,
right.
Never said it was going to be easy for us. Everybody
Never
else just gets
is.
to laugh and then suggest good cards to us when we think we're at 100 cards. Be like, ha
That's
ha
right.
ha,
Well, look, I
nerd,
get
you
it. That's
forgot
what
this.
before I started doing the streams with you, that's what I used to do to you all the time,
Oh,
so,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It was great. Oh, like we don't have Master Chef in the deck. Like this
No?
card, like is so good here. Yeah, you just get to like cackle and make us
Yeah.
squirm. So,
Mhm.
predatory hunger. This is the card I was looking at. What do you think about this? Like like turn 3, we go like 2 drop, put predatory hunger on it. Like
It's pretty
that,
good.
like like potentially coming around, you could have put 6 +1/+1 counters on a creature if everybody plays a creature.
It's powerful. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's nuts. We can't do this one because we need to attack. Um,
Yeah.
Sunburst, another really random. This is so awful though.
It is.
Wow, it's bad.
Yeah, we could activate it once.
Yep, cool, cool. It would make the thing instantly die. six, 6 mana 2/2 that comes in and dies. Um, yeah, Tales of Master Sushiro. This is the one we were talking about before, recommended by Finhorn, or he mentioned
Mhm.
it. I don't think he was necessarily recommending it, but I think 5 mana might be a bit much, but it is
Yeah,
such a
I mean,
big creature.
we could put it in considering. I don't know how high if we're gonna wanna go that high, but depending on where we end up, it may be something we want at the top of the curve. Who knows?
Yeah.
What is
Um,
Zelt's Conviction? Go down a little bit. It's a Phyrexia card, so I
oh,
shouldn't think Zelt's gonna be.
corrupted. Corrupted comes up when
Oh.
you look for counters.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't care about that.
Okay. Oh yeah, so proliferate.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And the thing is that these cards are going to be so good compared
Yeah,
to like anything that we've put in the deck so far. Like so good. Because
yeah.
each one of
Critters
these is like
Canopy.
put
There you
two
go.
+1/+1 counters on every creature you control for 3 mana. That's
Yeah,
so dumb. Like or what's the 1 mana one? Like this Thirsting Roots, dude. Like I
yeah.
have this
That
feeling
card's
that we're gonna
amazing.
have to like cut everything that's not 3 mana or less. Y-
It's gonna be yeah. The only spells we'll have in the deck are like some protection spells, the things that target two things for counters, and then the proliferate stuff. And there's
like
gonna be no
Smell
room for anything
Fear?
else.
These are all like
Yeah,
really oh,
yeah,
Urban Daggertooth. Oh, that's just like turn all of our fight spells into just
yeah. I mean, yeah, you were looking before at like a card like Silver Flame Ritual, right? But if you scroll up, there's a card that does the same thing, and it's called Bloom Hulk.
Bloom Hulk. Yeah. Yeah, like this is so much better than Silver Flame Ritual.
Yeah.
It's just coming in with a 4/4.
I mean, assuming that we have counters on all our stuff,
That's true.
Ritual puts it on all the creatures, right? And this one is a creature itself, which is why I prefer it. But you have to already have counters on the stuff. Canopy is amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
like baseline Broken Wings, which is this at instant speed without the proliferate, is already a very good spell and a card that
mhm,
a lot of times sees play in like mono green decks because flying creatures
yeah.
are everywhere. So a lot of times it's just a murder, and in other cases you're blowing something up like important. So
Hmm.
um,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Ritual
I
is
mean,
better for
you can mess with it
vigilance.
with the adamant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. Vigilance is not nothing. It's very good in these aggro decks because it gives us complete impunity
Hmm.
to just push damage. It
Yeah.
operates
The
a
thing you have
lot
to keep in mind.
like a fog, right? Where like opponent swings at us, we fog, and then we can swing back at them and hit them. It's like that
Right.
fog meant that we dealt the damage and they didn't, which is
Yeah,
really good.
the thing about Bloom Hulk, though, which is why I prefer it, being a creature, is that in these colors, we're going to lean very heavily on things like Leave a Stampede, You Mean a Tavern,
Yeah, that's a really good point,
Binding Way, and you can get Hulk off of those cards. Whereas,
and you
like,
can't
it's
to
tough
Silver
to
Flame.
draw. It's tough to like get into Silver Flame that way. Like, you have
Contagious
much easier
Vorak.
access to creatures.
This one is an optional proliferate. We can get a land
Yeah,
or we can proliferate.
3/3 for three that proliferate that just proliferates is
What
a
about
baseline fine
this
card.
one? So it's a body that can proliferate at any time.
I like the fact that it proliferates, but I don't like the fact that you have to sacrifice it to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Is proliferate just that good though?
It can be, but it's like it's 4 mana proliferate.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's not coming with anything else, right? Like if it left the
right.
bot, if it was just like ETB,
Yeah, like if you look at a card like Contagious Vorak, like
yeah,
even if so, ignore everything about finding a land because you don't have to do it.
yep,
You
right,
can just put them all on the bottom and just say proliferate. So you have a 3/3 for three that proliferates, and then you get all of that for 3 mana. Whereas with the spider, you have a 1/3 that you have to put more mana into and sacrifice it to get that same effect.
yep, absolutely. I think that on on hand effects like that can be really good. Just like have that
Totally.
up your back sleeve, and you don't have to use it right away. But I think that the math on that's pretty simple. Like this one right
Yeah,
here, ETB
it's an
3 mana
it's an on-rate
proliferate.
creature. It's
You
3 mana
get the
3/3 life.
3/3. The spider, it's like Spooter come in and then Spooter die, and then you don't
Mhm.
get anything behind except for the counters. Travis mentioned Temple under attack
Yeah.
for the indestructible. We could, although I seriously doubt that all of our creatures are going to die to something.
Yeah, we're not going to find ourselves in because the idea we're going to end up with a lot of very large creatures.
Yeah,
We're not going to get swept very often. I suspect.
yeah,
Um, we were talking before that like you're going to have to put a lot of mana into a pestilence in order to kill up the board that we're doing. Yeah, the draw aspect is not inconsequential.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. The draw part of it also though does give your opponents draw, and I really don't like that. Um,
well, it's not as bad. I mean, it's not like you're drawing two cards and then everyone else is drawing two cards. It's just like two for you, two for another. So you're not like the
oh,
parity
yeah.
isn't that hard to do there. Um,
I think that this card is okay sometimes.
I think it's better if you look at it as like the primary mode is indestructible, and the secondary mode is the draw.
I mean, we
And when
don't
the
have
indestructible aspect
anything
of
that
it is
does
not
that. Like,
sure. I mean when the indestructible aspect of it is less desirable, then I think the card takes a hit
yeah,
like pretty significantly.
yeah. So we are at 106. We don't have any removal in the deck, and we don't have any lands. Um, so uh, okay, let's just get the scythe cat out of here first and foremost.
Yeah,
Um, okay, where to go from here? Let's just throw 35 lands in here.
sure.
Just
Oh, you
placeholder.
know what's and something that we're gonna want to consider, and this is another thing that I love about heroic creatures and this deck in particular, is we can play something like Band Together as a removal spell to get double triggers.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a deep
Oh,
cut.
oh, there's a lot of these though.
Not that target not that target two of your own creatures.
Uh, I think there's a couple actually. Up O to O damage. I think there might be 3 of these. Call me crazy, but I think that there are more than um maybe it's choose.
Redeem is the other one that I'm familiar with, but that doesn't deal damage; it just prevents it.
Oh, interesting. Coven, because of that, says choose target creature you don't control. Okay, that has to happen on before resolution, right?
Um,
Or does it? I don't think it does actually. I don't think you
well, you have
need
to
to
target.
announce
Yeah, you do.
choose target, choose
Yeah, you still have to target it to cast a spell.
target. Oh, okay, interesting. Weird. For some
It said
reason,
like choose a creature. If it didn't say target, then like yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's
you
true.
choose your targets when it resolves.
Um, where's the one that I'm looking for though?
I think
There,
Band Together is a pretty unique card. I don't think there's.
I, I, I know you're saying
I
that,
think
but I don't. I think I've seen it before. What was?
there's another version of it that was in Baldur's Gate that is different art.
Is it fight? Oh, fight. Oh, two. What? Damn. I think
This is like one of those. It's that Berenstein Bears situation,
I
right?
feel like I have like a brain worm that is suggesting to me that there's like other versions of a card that don't exist. Skagwater RPGs. Hello, you gorgeous creatures. Skagwater, welcome to the chat,
Hello,
gorgeous
welcome.
creature, and I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, we're doing some fun Selesnya stuff here, and we I would say we were lost in the sauce, but we're not even in the sauce yet. We're like in
We
the
only have to
we're in
cut
the
40
we're
things.
still
This is
making the
easy.
broth, dude. Like this is for like we're gonna be cutting like 50 cards because we gotta have like some removal and some form of card
Yeah.
advantage. Um, like okay, so Volpakit was kind of cool, but like okay, maybe we just need to keep adding cards until we get to the end, right? Um, okay. So what else? Do we need like Heliod's Pilgrim
Um,
to tutor up protection and removal? Um,
oh, we're not doing much with auras though, are we?
well, like shouldn't we? We probably should have like Benevolent Blessing and Show right?
Maybe.
So like almost every white deck I've ever played has Heliod's Pilgrim because it allows you to get like a pacifism. It can get you a naturalize effect with like bound in gold, or it can get you
Okay.
or it can
I
get
just be
you
cognizant how many cards you want to devote to that package though.
that's a good point. Yeah, maybe
It's going to be tight as it is.
yeah. Okay, so let's add the let's just add the ones we know we're playing. We're definitely playing Benevolent Blessing. Uh Chomanos, right? I mean,
Yeah, and then like I think the pacifism that just came out in
yeah,
Phyrexian,
Planar
a good one.
Disruption.
Yeah.
Yep, that's great. We're not playing Reprobation because we don't want to put the creature back in the command zone. Skagwater
Mhm.
says the Totem Armors.
I
That's a
think we
possibility.
benefit a lot more from the protection spells that add counters.
Yeah, for sure. Totem Armor is good, especially because
Hmm.
it's preventing the creature from going. It's a replacement effect for the destroy. So it is preventing it from going to the graveyard, which means that the counters stick around. and they are pretty low opportunity
Sure.
cost. So so there is that, but I don't think we're going to be doing Heliod's Pilgrim. I think I seeing the writing on the wall with that. We've got the Captured by Lagac. What other
Mhm.
cards would we want? Stave Off,
Yeah.
and we're going to want Vines of the Vastwood, or
Mhm.
Vines of Vastwood, and not
Yeah, Vines of Vast.
Nine, Vines of,
Yeah.
yep. And we're going to want those are the two. It's kind of fun because in green white you get both of them, but they can target other
Mhm.
people's creatures, as some of you
Yeah, you
may
get to
know.
really blow someone out.
Yeah, yeah. Travis says that's a lot for something we don't take much advantage of. Are you talking about Heliod's Pilgrim? Because I can understand that if so. I Sunlance. Ooh, non-white is usually irrelevant.
I don't think so. Call me crazy. I don't think we need to overload necessarily on removal.
No, I mean
Um,
we need to
I
have a
think
little bit of it, like so that we're
I think we need a couple pieces at least, but I don't think it needs to be something where like we're going deep enough to where
mhm,
Sunlance is something that we're going to want.
yeah.
Um,
And if we
I think
did, it
that
should be instant speed, right?
we're going to want to be asking the questions, not answering
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
Um, and I think we should. It's easy to lose focus and kind of find yourself in the middle of the road in terms of what your deck is trying to do with something like this. And I think it's important to kind of be clear that we are trying to apply pressure proactively and not kind of lean back on removal and interaction
Yep.
most of the time.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. And that doesn't mean that we shirk responsibility completely
Hmm. Well, yeah, you need to
because
be able to save your stuff if
right.
you're putting resources into it. But
Yep. So cards like um, Afterlife and Crib Swap come to mind. They're a little
mhm,
expensive, but they're unconditional and they're instant speed. And so, like,
mhm,
if we are running removal, it's going to be very premium in the sense that we won't have a lot of it, and
yeah.
it's got to do the job, right? And that's one of the things Sunlance doesn't do either of those things because it's not consistently killing what we need dead, and it's not instant speed. Um,
So I'm interested to see if like we want something like these 3 mana removal spells instead of just
Maybe a 2 mana.
rapid bite or like the
The
bite
fight
effects,
spells,
like
right? They're all.
Master's Rebuke. Not
Oh, we don't
necessarily the
even.
fight spells,
Oh,
but like Master's Rebuke and
yeah,
like
bites.
the one-sided, yeah, the bites. I think
Uh,
there's like the good
ram
fights that
through,
care about the yeah,
ram through,
there's
bite
like
down.
those like 1 mana fight spells or whatever that care about 1/1 counters, like those ones I think are quite good. But
Yeah, that's
I think
actually a
these
good
spells
point.
are very good too.
This is our
Like
removal.
better than things like Afterlife. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good point. Like our removal is going to be these bite spells are among the better of them.
I really
Um,
like them. Yeah.
fight. So we'll just say removal here,
Hmm.
and let's start ordering these. For those of you that aren't familiar too, you'll be able to see on my screen here. You see that little window that opens up on the side. You can actually, if you drag your cards around, you can do it that way. Now we're gonna change the view up here to do grid, so you can see all the cards. Sorry, I didn't have that set earlier. We've got that there. Let's go to our removal here. So bite down is going to go into removal, duel for dominance and removal. Um, I really do think putting cards into categories is like incredibly important when you're building
Yeah, it helps
decks.
a lot.
I think people oftentimes don't, and you just miss out on like the seeing the forest, right, and really
Hmm.
seeing all of the pieces coming together in a way that tells us like you know how how are we doing on the balance of effects. So
Right.
like right here we have protection, and so we'll just drag that over into protection. Snakeskin veil is protection. Um, Feet of resistance, protection. Gaia's gift, protection. Pick up the shield, protection.
Yeah, the
Uh,
great thing about like protection spells like take out the shields that we can use them proactively if we need to chip in extra damage too. It gives lifelink as well. Like
yeah, it's a
it's
good
a
point.
very it's a very flexible spell.
Yep. Removal with planner disruption. Um, we're gonna do. This is gonna be a naturalize here. So I'll say like when I'm tagging my cards, if I'm in green or white, I'll call it naturalize or disenchant. And then if I'm in
Mm,
black or something that doesn't have access to those effects, I'll call it whatever corresponds to what it destroys. So I'll say like enchantments or things like that. Um, and then here we've got a draw spell. And so we'll drag lead the stampede under draw. We'll do you meet in a tavern. That's also an anthem.
Yep.
Um, and then, yep, this is also under removal, smell fear. And we have this is protection and removal. And then what else do we have? Okay. We just have like this huge pile of cards.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So yeah.
Okay. So, do we want to have a section for like dedicated buff spells?
Sure.
Some of these cards are going to be like weird in that they're going to be like have like multiple slots that they go into. That'll be small slots where there won't be a lot of other things. So I may not
Yeah.
organize too heavily with those. Travis has a bunch of mentions here. Um, Fair, fair. Sometimes neither do fight spells, though. Yeah, that's valid. I think that our stuff is going to tend to be big enough that it's going to be pretty good. Bite spells and fight spells, of course, can be
Yep.
interrupted by killing the creature doing the fighting or biting. So that's relevant. But they're instant speed. They're 2 mana instead of 2 and 3. I think they're going to be pretty good. Um, and then Savine's Reclamation.
It's a
That
rare,
is
isn't
a
it?
rare. Yeah, that's a real good card. That is a real good one. A Reanimator package. So Reanimator tends to be really good when the card that you're bringing back is either really crucial, has good ETB value on it, or is way bigger than it's supposed to be because you're
Hmm.
cheating it into play. And none of those things are true here. Um, so, for example, like all the reanimation spells in
Oh,
white
like Savine's
are.
Wreck. I got you.
Oh,
Yeah. I
said
mean,
like so
so
like recommission is the closest we get to that,
yeah,
and it's really good. Um,
and Tethnos High Priest, I guess.
which we don't have in the deck yet.
Yeah.
The card is really solid.
Hmm.
I've kind of got like a love affair with this card. I've built whole decks around it in 60 card. Um,
Yep.
because in 60 card, of course, you get like a deck full of mutagenic growths, Homestead Courage,
Oh yeah.
and like you can even play Gut Shot alongside this, which is really
Sure.
really funny. And then you just play like Seeker of the Way, and you're just like bringing back Seekers. And actually, the coolest use of Tethmos High Priest is playing a
Hmm.
blue-white fairies deck. And then what you do
Okay.
is use Spell Stutter Sprite. And when they kill your Spell Stutter Sprite, you bring it back from the graveyard at instant speed with mutagenic growth, and you counter things. It's really, really disgusting.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. But more on your point, Travis, we won't be playing any Reanimator stuff here except for the Recommission, just because Recommission is the counter is going to trigger differently than the other counters that we get on the creature because it comes into the battlefield with it. It's not an ETB effect.
Yep.
Um, and then Skagwater RPGs. Devout Harpist is really mean, I have found. Devout Harpist. That's the one that brings back an enchantment or makes or gets bigger with destroy target creature
It
enchantment. So
kills
destroy target
auras.
aura. Interesting. Huh. I feel like this one probably doesn't find a home here because we're really wanting to put counters on creatures. We're not wanting to sack them. And I don't know that auras are going to be so concerning to us that we need to like lean into this effect. We're gonna want
Right.
something more like Light of Hope, where it's like really flexible and just to go to Light of
Yeah,
Hope
we can
here.
use proactively or reactively as we need.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think we're into the cutting cards phase.
Yeah.
This feels like a solid package of cards. A lot of these are 2 mana. I'm noticing.
Hmm. That's fine. I like 2 mana, like 1 and 2 mana as a mana value slot for these.
Yeah, so we can do types and tags. Sort by mana value. Yeah, we could sort into CMCs. I actually kind of like that. Do like a 1 CMC, 3 CMC
Hmm.
section. I've been doing this actually. That's a really good point, Travis. And I did this recently with my Passageway Seer deck. So I rebuilt Passageway Seer as an aggro deck. And one of the things I wanted to make sure of was that I had a really, really dense 1 drop section. And the reason for that is that 1 drops are really Your first turn is on 1 mana, which means that you can play a turn 1 creature, a turn 2 2-drop, and then a turn 3 you can play a 2-drop and a 1-drop. And so, like,
Yep.
1 mana creatures are Primus in aggro decks, for that reason. Obviously, this makes sense in 60 card, but in Commander, same thing. So 1 MV, and we'll just start dragging cards in there. So let's go 1 MV. Oh boy, is it going to start jumbling things when I do that? It might. Clockwork Beetle, Code Spell Cleric. Uh, This is going to take a second, but it'll be worth it. Will be worth it. I really liked this idea that we came across that we don't really that not all the things have to have counters on them.
Yeah.
We can have things that that are just good to put counters on,
Yeah,
right?
as long as we have enough ways to add counters to them reliably, it seems fine.
Unholy Officiant. Yeah. Oh, that's a 2 mana card.
Oh,
Done.
it
Oh no. What are you doing? Okay, so we'll just change this from a 1 to a 2. And then let's get the tours in there. Aquastrand Spider, such a pog.
yeah.
Um, yeah. These 2 mana 1/1s that put in counters when they come in are pretty sweet. And we get a
Yeah.
lot of them. There's so many versions of that card.
Yeah, I think they're deceptively good here.
And they're consistent. They kind
Mhm.
of like always do that thing,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is
that's a big
really
part of
good.
it. If you're playing an aggressive deck like this, then that's what you want.
Yeah, our 1 and 2 drop slots are going to be really important because what we do want to do is play a 1 drop, we want to play our commander, and then we want to play a 2 drop and a 1 drop. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
sequence that we're optimizing for. Okay, so
Yeah.
there we go. And then the rest are like more than that. So I'm going to leave this
Right.
unsorted because this is almost certainly where we're going to make cuts from. Um,
Right.
yep. Strands in the list. We don't have prismatic strands. We could consider some fogs, um,
Mhm.
maybe like Dawn Charm because it is a protection spell as well as a
Yeah.
fog. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
Dawn
that would
Charm
fit well
seems the
here.
most
Let's
flexible.
see let's see where we end up. Um, then we can
Yeah, I mean,
finish that.
I think there's a good chance that it's going to be really hard to swing at us. You know what I mean? Oh,
Mhm.
Travis mentions Guardian of the Guild Pact. Um,
Guardian has protection from monocolored.
Yeah, so the funny thing about Guardian is that it almost always gets blocked by their command. It can almost always be blocked by the commander, but most decks that have Guardian in it don't have the ability to buff Guardian, which makes it pretty bad.
Right.
But if we're putting counters on it, it's actually really
How
gross.
how are we putting counters on it?
Protection from monocolored?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, we can't do that. Oh, yeah, we aren't. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. That was fun. Good talk. Okay. So Travis says, "Is the commander is dual?" But what about Battle Screech? Do we like a card like Battle Screech?
Maybe secondarily, it's not something that I have on my radar
Just
for
like a
like
really good,
main deck right now.
really good white card that we could put counters on. Um,
Well, we already have a lot of really good white cards to put counters on though.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Okay. So Volpakeet is starting to look kind of sus. What do you think? Cut that one.
Yep, cut it for now.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So considering um, this one, yeah, like
Rockanora, yeah, cut that.
but I guess here's the question: what are the worst ones in here? Like this one is
So
the worst version of Trample, but it is good. Um,
yeah,
you know, it's funny.
so
Gavany Silversmith looks so much better than Ivy Lane Denizen.
yeah, it does.
You know, it's like
I
Ivy
agree.
Lane Denizen and Master Chef both look like cards that need something else to happen to work.
Well, I think
Um,
Denizen, like if we cast it, and I don't want to find ourselves in a situation where like we just aren't able to trigger it. Um,
yeah,
I think Silversmith coming in and just like
yeah,
putting two counters on something right out the gate is like getting it's like Ively and Denizen if you got the first two triggers up front, you
yeah,
know,
right, and because you're getting 4 counters out of this
which I think
when you play
benefits
it down.
us with what we're trying to
I
do a lot
I
more.
think if we're disciplined, I think this and Master Chef, which look like
Hmm.
cards that would be very good, I think they both go. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, like because like look how many cards there are that are just like put 4 +1/+1 counters into play. And we just
yeah,
get that right away. Now, obviously, Ivy Lane. I think Master Chef might have an argument for it because Master Chef doesn't
right.
die.
Yeah, it's a better card. But
Oh
we can revisit it.
shit! There's also Flaming Fists. I was just thinking about that with the
Oh
backgrounds.
yeah.
That's kind of interesting. Double strike on our commander in a deck that puts counters on things. Huh?
Yeah, I guess to that I would just remind you that what we're building towards is spreading a lot of singular counters across a large spread of
So we can
creatures rather than just
proliferate
like
them.
dumping a ton onto one creature.
Yeah, for sure.
So
But
I
even
mean
if
it's
our
good, but
commander were like a 4/4 with double strike,
hmm
that
yeah,
might be worth. But yeah,
possibly. I mean it's a decent plan B, but I want to kind of flesh out the plan A
yeah.
first.
Plan A
Yeah,
here is what's
I
most
think Travis
important.
says it hits it right on the nose here. Is the commander what we were really caring about killing with? And
No, our commander is
I
just a
think no.
creature. It's just a
Yeah.
creature, you know. Um, okay, so in terms, I will say that the one place that I have hesitance is with the heroic cards,
Hmm.
um, because they're because we have currently 29, 29. Well, some of these don't target. How many of them don't though? One, two. Like, do we have enough ways to reliably bolster them up? And are they just like, because they're another card that requires another thing to happen, right?
Hmm.
Like, there's some of them that I think are
Sure.
really good, like the 2 mana one and the 1 mana one.
We
Both
sure,
I like.
we definitely don't need to play all of them, that's for
Yeah, so like
sure.
Setessan and Oathsworn, this one, like you're paying a lot more mana for the fact that it puts
Yeah.
2 +1/+1 counters, but we only ever
Yeah,
want
that's certainly
one.
one of the weaker ones. I mean,
Yeah,
if we're looking for something at 3 mana, like the 2/2 flyer is like much
yeah.
better.
Now this one is flying, which I think is huge.
Mhm.
This one here enters. This one seems weak, right? It's just 1 +1/+1 counter, or so it's two, but
It's a 4 or 5.
and it only does it on itself.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I think we can cut
Yeah,
that.
cut that.
Yep. Yeah. So we've got Travis saying heroic ain't the greatest here. What's the one that reanimates CMC2 when targeted?
High
That's
priest, yeah.
Tethmos High Priest. Yeah. So we've got that card in here. It is hiding. It is hiding right now.
It's in there.
It's in
I
here
saw it.
somewhere. Yeah, we're not going to worry about it too much, but it's in there. And that one is really good because that
Mhm.
one's card advantage, right? Like that is truly like
Yep.
insane, especially with these ETB creatures. Oh man, Whew, it's exciting. Um, okay, I don't think we're ever cutting the phantom cards, right? Like these are
Probably not,
probably too good. The Jukai Preserver is good, but it's also not a spell,
but it is a creature we could find off of our, Lead the
and
Stampedes.
it does just make itself into a 5/5.
Mhm.
Jade Guardian's great. Gavany Silversmith. Fertilid could go.
Yeah. Yeah, for now.
Griff Rider. Okay, so the training is actually a lot better than Mentor
Yeah.
because the training is like we're going to have some big creatures. We're going to continually train, turn after turn. Kinsbale Courier is very strong in this deck. The Encore is going to hit like a Mack truck. Um, Chronicler of Heroes.
Maybe not. I don't know. Like drawing cards, it can't. I mean, cantriping's nice, but
Yeah, there's a part of me that feels like any card draw in this deck will be like the Roving Harper, Search Party Captain. Thraben Inspector, some of those kind
Yeah.
of more stapley cards. In fact, Thraben Inspector probably should be in here, right? This is a one drop.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I like Thraben Inspector in every deck that can support it.
Yeah. Um, Travis says I like Fertilid. I like Fertilid too. The trouble with Fertilid is that is like, is it doing something that our deck really wants? And I don't know that it necessarily is.
So oftentimes we don't want to spend our third turn casting a 3-drop.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, where are we playing Fertilid, and like
Yeah.
when is it good?
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a ramp card that doesn't ramp you right when it comes down.
yeah,
Um, so
we have a lot of ways to that we need to be like using our mana, and Fertilid activations are pretty low on the list. So for a 3-mana 3/3, it's
I think
not
Croconura
a card that I find attractive.
might
Yeah,
not make
I
it.
think like these high toughness, low power creatures at like 3 mana, I'm not a huge fan of. Just because they're not as
Yeah.
aggressive.
Well, and like when like how many times do we trigger evolve? Once,
Yeah, most likely once.
right? I don't think that's necessarily good enough to justify. The rest of this stuff is good. Crown Ceratok might be one, but I just there's a I think that this
Well, we have
effect.
like three. We have like 2 or 3 other cards that do the same thing.
Right. Well, yeah, we have
Um,
Pride Malkin, we have Dusk Shell Crawler, we have Crown
the
Ceratok,
Outlast one.
we have the Tusk Guard Captain. So we have four currently that give trample. Um, so I mean that means that we're probably going to hit one per game at that number.
Hmm.
Um, we start
Yeah,
cutting beyond that, and we're maybe not as likely to start hitting things.
sure.
Um,
So cut Wingsteed Rider.
Steed. Yep. Yeah. Fair enough. What about Saddleback Legak? And like, actually, if we're considering Saddleback Legak, would we be better off considering lead by example? Because lead doesn't get hit by lead the Stampede, Winding Way. Um,
The only concern is that, I mean, well, if we care about having 3 copies of Gavany Silversmith, because that's essentially what Saddleback Legak is, right? Um, it's the same card.
oh, it's the same card as Basri's Acolyte, basically.
Basically, yeah, they'll
Okay.
do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
gonna put 2 counters on something.
Or on
I like
two
having,
things. Yeah,
yeah, I like having the ability to do that at instant speed on a spell like Lead by Example.
yeah,
Um, but if we want to lean heavier into creatures, then we can certainly cut Lead by Example for Saddleback. I guess also Lead by Example is a 2-mana spell versus a redundant 4-mana spell. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, like Saddleback
Because
Legak.
we have a lot of 4 drops.
There's a lot of four drops here. Yeah, have to be very cautious. What about Spike Worker? Is this just too mana intensive?
Probably.
Okay, I
I
like
think Spike Drone is
Spike
good.
Drone is good. Yeah, yeah. Being a one drop.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. So do we like Crown Ceratok more than we like the counter creatures, or not? Because if
Probably
we're
not.
yeah, like, and then actually, I mean, for what it's worth, what about Jade Guardian?
Yeah, yeah, that can go
It's a
too, I
little
think.
spendy, right? Like it is coming in as a 4/4.
Yeah,
Um, four
but
four
again,
hexproof, but it's no evasion on it.
I think we're trying to spread things out a little bit more and not pile up.
So the
And
thing is,
we're certainly going to trim ones and twos as well, but like the fours, the higher stuff, I think is important to
and
keep
I'm
in
not
mind.
even sure. Like we will have to trim this, but
Hmm.
like part of the thing is that the one drops are going to be like maybe the most important thing in the deck because we really just want to go one drop commander, one drop, two drop, um, to really get on the board. And the reason I keep mentioning that is because in Passageway Seer, I've just seen how powerful that is when I go like one drop and then I go like turn two, one drop, or turn
Yeah.
two, two drop into one drop, two drop. It just there's so much cadence in that.
Hmm.
And I think in a deck really like wanting to apply lethal pressure as early as possible, that's important.
Yeah.
Knighted Mirror,
So this card is one that,
absolutely insane.
yeah. It's something where like that. This is why having cards like Leap by example, I think, is good, because you can just blow people out with this pretty simply.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. This thing's going to be an absolute monster. Every turn, it's going to get bigger and it's going to get double strike.
Yeah,
Oh man, Travis mentions we don't even have the initiative stuff.
yeah, we
And
don't.
initiative puts Forge, right? And it puts
Hmm.
Throne of the Dead 3, which are very good. Um, but they're expensive cards. Actually, both of them are 5 mana, which are
Yeah.
completely out of our mana.
I think we need to look at these like 3 mana, 4 mana cards through the lens of like when are we casting these cards and are they good when we're going to be casting them?
Yeah.
Um,
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 4 mana cards. Honestly, the Sporeback Troll is really good, but it's I don't know if it's as good as the cards. Right, again,
it's
Spore
probably
it's a
I think our
setup
instant
card,
speed.
right?
I think our protection spells are better than this.
Sporeback Troll is really good in this deck, except
Right.
for the fact that it's a setup card. It needs to come down first,
Sure.
and then the other stuff needs to happen, and it's not ever doing that, right? Like this
Hmm.
is coming in last. Um,
Yeah,
so I think this gets cut simply because of mana cost. Like we've got
sure.
other 2 and
That's
one
fair.
mana graft stuff that is way better.
Yeah.
Um, whereas
That's
like
right. Yeah, Travis will never adapt the Knighted Mirror, but we can always adapt it first and then put stuff on it after. I think just having the ability to instant speed, give it double strike with any number of effects that add a counter at instant speed is really valuable. Create a lot of really high pressure board states.
yep. Life Crafter's Gift. What do we think about this one?
I don't like it that much.
Okay, got it.
I think
Um,
having the Silver Flame Ritual is better if we're gonna have it if we're gonna have that effect on a spell.
and I don't even know that that's necessarily like I don't know. We just have so many like other proliferate effects that aren't that expensive, right? Or they come with something else. And that like this one, it is putting a counter on everything, regardless of whether it has a counter or not. But
Hmm.
I sus and maybe that's actually good because we're gonna have like times where we're gonna put counters on
Because
stuff.
we have a lot of proliferate stuff, so having a spell that puts counters on everything
Yeah,
is
seems
good.
good. Yeah, I like shoulder to shoulder a lot. Although it is sorcery speed. Um,
Yeah, it
so
does
is travel
cantrip. That's
prep,
the reason why I like it. I mean, if we're looking to cut any of these cards, that's probably the first one to go. But
but the
yeah,
cantrip is good.
hmm,
These are really similar.
yeah.
Both sorcery speed. Thirsting
Travel
Roots,
preparations
definitely.
is like is insane though. Just the
Yeah.
flashback is wild.
Oh wait, this is. Oh no, this is way better.
Yeah,
Yeah, travel prep is great. Yeah, it's excellent. Same with Homestead. Okay, cool. So I think we've done a pretty good number on that. We're down to 139. We still have so much more to go.
yeah.
Um, maybe we cut something like Planner Disruption
If we're playing
because
the if we're doing the Heliots package,
we're
then
yeah we're not. So
yeah, if we're not, then we can cut it.
the rest of these are just a little bit more synergistic with the deck. Um,
Hmm.
good on protection. Got some of the draw here. All right. So this is where we're going to make some cuts now.
Yeah.
Um,
Juniper Order Root Weaver is one that is a 3 mana spell because it's not playable unless we kick it.
where's that?
It's Juniper Order Root Weaver. It's a 2 CMC spell. It's on the second row, about 5 cards away.
Oh, that is a 3 CMC creature.
So maybe cut that.
Okay. Yeah.
'Cause I think the sweet spot for this effect is at 2 mana. I wouldn't want to go above it.
Yeah. This one could go. Alternatively, one way we could look at this is that like there's a part of me that thinks that our that like having that as opposed to Light of Hope type stuff,
Hmm.
like having the effect on a body is better than having it on a spell.
I mean, in a vacuum, yes, but it's a 3 mana card versus a 1 mana card.
That's true. So do we want to cut
And we
that?
already and we have a really high redundancy of that effect already.
You know, the other thing just to mention with this though, this is repeatable.
Right.
I just realized that if we load more stuff on this, we can blow up more than one enchantment.
And we have a lot of ways to move counters around too.
Yeah. I kind of like this card for some reason. It just kind of speaks to me right now. Um, it's got flying, which really like it's coming in as a 2/2 flying um,
Yeah.
on command. Blanchwood
Might
Prowler.
that is probably one that can go.
Well, so wait, this is actually isn't this just better than so these ones can put counters on other things, but Blanchwood
Right.
Prowler does that
Puts it
while
on
also having
itself.
the option to get a land
No,
instead.
it puts it on itself.
Right, right, but that's what I'm saying is like it's not as flexible in that you can't put it on other things, but it does become the
Oh, sure, sure,
same
sure. I see what you're saying.
size with the option of, oh, if you need a land, you can go get it. Um,
Yeah.
so, and the reason I'm asking that is like, like what would go instead? And
Token
like
Free Blade
all
is
of these look
something that I think might.
like
I
if
think
it,
Token Free Blade could probably go.
yeah, because this one needs to connect.
Yep,
Yeah. All right.
that's right.
That's fair. It's so funny. Sometimes when we build when I build the thumbnails, I'll have cards that are like among the first to go. That's always
Yeah.
funny. That's why I generally don't put the cards on the thumbnail because it's like don't want to make
Um,
any promises.
I will also say if we're if we're looking at cards like Taunting Elf, Shinen of Life's Roar is something that we should probably get to
Yeah.
because it's a 2 mana creature that we can channel.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah,
Yep. That's
and I
really
think like
really gross.
these kinds of effects are going to be way better at breaking through than the cards that like put counters on all of our creatures, like those kinds of
Totally.
anthems. These
Totally.
cards are going to bust things open in a way that those cards cannot. So
Okay, unholy officiant can go.
yeah, I think the
Um
shadow creature can go too, if I'm being honest.
really?
Yeah, because we want to be able to block too.
I
I
have
like
been doing
Shadow. I'm a
so
huge
much
Shadow fan,
fucking
but
work with Shadow lately. I have been like
I
it.
don't think we're gonna have a lot of problems having good combats without like a creature that's unblockable.
Uh, that's a stressful
Especially
cut for
because
me, my dude. I
it's
like like what if this thing's just like a 5/5 unblockable or a 7/7 or something, you know?
I mean it could be, but the way that we are kind of structuring our curve and play patterns, um, I'm not concerned about our creatures getting blocked.
Like
Honestly,
when are
like
we blocking anyways? It's only
we'll
the
win
creatures
combat.
it's only the creatures that we leave behind, right?
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about how powerful vigilance is and made a lot of concessions there. So clearly, we value it to some degree. Um,
That's true.
but
It's a good
I
point.
don't think that we should be concerned about unblockable creatures because we'll have, in theory, having like such advantaged attacks anyway that it'll put people under a lot of pressure to make bad decisions when they block, regardless. So I think we're going to end up killing a lot of creatures in combat that we want to be killing. I don't think it's like we need to have a creature that doesn't contribute directly to our game plan simply because it's unblockable. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
mm, yeah.
Like Iron Apprentice like brings a counter, like all these one drops like bring a counter with them that we can manipulate in other ways. Loyal Pegasus I think is kind of a standout. Like these kind of creatures that, um, you know, they're evasive but they can also play defense. All of them have vigilance. Um, Healer's Hawk has lifelink. Battlefield Raptor has first strike. Um,
Sergovian.
yeah, I think
What
unblockability
about
is
Fairy Guide Mother? Is that
it can go.
yeah,
I'm pretty cool on that one.
we
Young
got
Wolf could probably go.
because this is just when it dies.
If it
Yeah,
does, it does not have a counter. It returns with one.
let's cut
Um,
that. That was
but yeah,
also on my thumbnail.
that's okay. Look, you got to start with
Yeah, yeah,
casting a broad net, right?
that's right. That's right. I don't mourn it. It's just funny. You know how these builds go, and it's very common that you end up with a lot of yeah. Uh, you just never know where it's going to go. Thraben Inspector, Shinin of Life's Roar, 2 CMC.
Yeah, I'm really into the idea of loading up counters on like one of these creatures that has to be blocked.
What about Airlift Chaplain?
I don't like it in this deck necessarily.
Only a planes, right? So
Or a creature. I mean, it'll hit a
it hits
creature,
a
or I
creature
mean,
too.
any most of the
I
time
mean,
it'll draw something, but
there
it's a
is.
1/1.
I
I
mean,
don't
there's
know.
also Militia Bugler. That's like another card that we haven't talked about
Yeah.
either. Where like it might be that we need to actually cut some of these cards that put counters on our stuff so that we can have some form of like refueling our hand. Um, and there's so
Well,
like
cards like I mean, these cards don't refuel; they cantrip.
right, but like you're getting a body while getting a card back.
Sure.
So it is giving us a way to keep the
Well,
action going, right?
I think if we're gonna make concessions to that, then we should care about what the body that we should care about the body.
Right.
Um,
So this is a 1/1 flying,
yeah.
which is bad. One
I mean,
one flying for
Skyscanner is
3.
better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Skyscanner draws just a card. This is probably going to get us a
Sure.
creature. Um, yeah, in fact, this is frequently going to be get us a creature off the top.
Mm.
Um,
I might cut makeshift battalion. I'm just looking at these creatures here.
um, I mean,
I don't know.
Chron- see, I'm feeling
Chronicler might go.
yeah. It's just the funny thing is that we have like so little card advantage in this deck, and I don't. Not every deck needs to have a lot of it, right? But we do need to have some. We need to have
Sure.
some not necessarily card advantage, but like resource advantage where we get a card back for our efforts because I'm concerned that we'll just like run out of juice.
Sure. So we've got Deepwood Denizen, which is good.
Yep, this can go under draw.
We
Um,
could, like, as much as we like the training stuff, Apprentice Sharpshooter is not an attacker.
Apprentice Sharpshooter. Which one was
It's a
that?
1/4 reach for 3 mana.
Why am I
It's
not finding?
the big green toughness, high toughness training
Oh, there
creature.
it's green. I thought it was white for some reason.
Yeah.
So when it attacks with a
I
creature
like
with
training.
greater
I mean, training
power,
is great, but again, like,
so
what do we
it
want our what do we want our our three CMC creatures to be doing?
so this one like okay, yeah, that's a good question. What is this ultimately doing? The way I see this is that it's going to become a 5 a 5/9. So what I'm saying is that I think it'll trigger twice,
Hmm.
right? I think there's a really good chance that we can get it up to 5 power.
Okay.
Um
I think for the purposes of constructing an initial list, we should not necessarily slot it in based on that speculation. Does that make sense?
right, right. Like if we play this on 3, then
If we
we
find
we
that we're able to engineer situations where we could reliably do that, then I think it's worth revisiting. But in
right.
terms of like getting 100 cards to sleeve up and go, I think this card we would need to play it out a little bit, play
Right.
some hands, and see where we're
So
at.
based on spec, let's just put this in considering for now.
Mhm.
I think Griffin Rider, we could say the same thing. This one even more so because it has less power to begin with, or more power to begin
More
with,
power, yeah.
right? Um,
Hmm.
yep. What about this one? This one seems really good. This one has
That card
basically
seems.
no
Yeah,
limitation
never mind.
on
I take
it.
it back. That card seems fine.
That card is nuts.
We could probably cut Crown Ceratok. I forgot that there's the Gnarlid card that gives everything trample too. So like Crown Ceratok is like the fifth copy of this effect.
Okay, yeah, we can cut it because it doesn't give counters and all the other ones do.
Yeah.
So, um, okay. I keep looking at this card. It's just like a worse version of all the other 4 mana versions of that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Except that it does have the ability to put more counters down for 3 at instant speed
Right. I
uncounterably.
look at it. I think the channel ability is going to be the
That's the
reason
main
why we play
mode.
this card.
So you're seeing this as
Yeah.
a 3 mana card. And Travis is asking about Militia
Yeah.
Bugler.
If we have room for it, I think it's worth playing. I
Yeah,
like it a lot
this card is really strong.
because a lot
Um,
of our creatures that have naturally a pretty low power, so which they should hit.
where did it just go? Where did it put my
I
my
don't
my dear
I don't
sweet?
know if it added
Oh,
it.
there it added it to draw. It's probably because I've got it
Oh, there
tagged.
it is.
Oh, don't
Sure.
ever do the exclamation mark. It'll ruin your ruin your deck building process. So power 2 or less.
Yeah.
That's like almost
It's most of our
everything in the
stuff.
deck. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's all of our 2-and-1 drops.
yeah. Oh, it's 3 mana. I thought it was 4 for some reason.
Mm-mm. No, the card's good, and it has vigilance, so it's like a good target to put stuff on.
Yep, that's great. We can kind of look at another form of like card advantage in a sense is coming from our Tethmos High Priest. So let's
Yep.
move that over into draw. That's going to function like a draw card in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Airlift Captain is draw. Chronicler of Heroes is draw. Um, Travis says to be honest, I would think this would be an amazing 1v1 deck. I think that's possible.
I think it certainly could be.
God forbid you run up against a turn 2 counterspell though. Um,
Right.
then you're going to be real sad. Um,
Yeah, you're just a little behind.
mhm. Dawn Charm, like we do have quite a bit of protection in here,
Mhm.
um,
Me too.
which is important. Um,
But I don't think I like it better than any of these cards.
yeah, Dawn Charm, I am thinking about versus like Take Up the Shield, but Take Up the Shield gives a +1/+1 counter. Never
Think of
mind.
the shield is better than feeder resistance.
Better than
It gives a
Feet.
counter and protection, but I mean, like take up the shield does the same thing as feeder resistance, except it also has lifelink. So it doesn't have that modality of like we can use it aggressively if we need to gain life.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We've got Carnivorous Canopy. We've got. I don't know that we can really, or that we want to go down anymore on this effect. Like this is going to be like we get
The only one that I would
one.
possibly cut here is duel for dominance, just because we have to meet that coven condition.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a huge ask. If we're looking to trim it, I think that's the one to trim.
God, Captured by Lagak is really good here.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that card is nuts. It's like pacifism with like 4 power tacked onto it.
yeah,
So good. Great Sword of Tear seems
busted.
so good. So good.
Yeah,
Yeah, tapping down blockers. It's like a form of removal in a sense. Okay. We keep coming back to this here, but this is all like the finest. The
yeah. These are
finest
kind of
creme
gas
de la
cards.
creme.
Yeah,
I'm going to organize these into CMC3 or
yeah,
3MV. Um, I'm very confused about MV and CMC. I kind of just use them interchangeably because they are
yeah. I do too.
interchangeable, and it's random when I use one versus the other, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So we
uh,
may need to trim. I mean, I think creatures is where we're gonna have to. We're obviously have 64 creatures.
yeah, yeah, it's a huge
We're gonna
number.
have to we're gonna have to cut some of the 2 mana cards that bring a counter probably just because there's so many. They're so
There's a lot
redundant
of redundancy there.
that we can kind of probably cut a couple things there. Predatory hunger might be worth taking out for now. Again, one of those things that we can adjust for in later iterations,
Yeah,
but something
like
certainly powerful.
I think it's like clearly very powerful, and so one of the things we'll want to
Yeah.
see is like when we play a game
Hmm.
with this deck, like thinking about in those circumstances where we just slotted this in, right? Like we had a 2 drop and a
Yeah.
1 drop, and this is our 1 drop, and then everybody else had to play creatures, and it just like made our thing out of control huge, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's fine to cut it for now on just it's kind of a speculation cut
Yeah,
in a
I think
sense.
I wanna stick to cards that are just like very in a vacuum, like doing what
Yeah.
we want to be doing.
I guess I'm not really wanting to leave home without Dawn Charm, but like because of what we've been talking about and
Hmm.
because this is flexible.
So I think all of our protection spells are very good. Um,
This one is the least good of them, but it's the most flexible.
right. I think having a fog in our back pocket's really going to be like important.
Travis asked about Infect. I don't think so. Um,
Yeah, it's cute, but I mean, it would be a different deck if we were trying to
Very
infect it.
different deck. Yeah, yeah. Um,
I think the incentives are a lot different.
mhm. This stuff all seems really good. I
Yeah.
still am kind of liking Airlift Chaplain
Yeah, I mean,
because
I like the card a lot too. I think if we're going to cut any of these cards, I'd probably cut that one. But
mhm.
you know,
Okay, let's do it. Travis, you never cut Bodyguard.
I think yeah, Bodyguard's a card that just by being on the
Yeah,
battlefield, it makes people make bad decisions.
y
Um,
yeah, I mean, like,
you know,
Bodyguard is on
nobody
board,
wants nobody wants to be the
yeah,
one that walks to the
no,
bodyguard.
no, and this is the thing, on board tricks are telegraphed, but it's because they're telegraphed that makes everybody not want to be the one that wastes the mana to
Yeah.
pop it. So like Aether Spellbomb does not read 1 mana bounce a card. It reads nobody attacks you because nobody wants to spend mana recasting their thing. And God
Yeah.
forbid they're an
Okay.
initiative deck because then they lose all their counters, right?
Yeah.
Like it reads don't attack me, and so that's partially why it's so strong.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, I think we're into the 2 mana creatures.
Yep. Let's go up there.
Is it this one? Shine Wend.
Shine Wind. Yeah.
It's like kind of reactive, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I want our creatures to be more proactive than anything. We
so
could probably cut.
which of these have the worst art?
Well, I was gonna
Like
say maybe a good place to start would just be like a Crow and Sky Guard. Um,
oh yeah,
until we have a chance to like see if that's something that would be better suited to slotting in.
yep, that's a good point.
Same thing with
Um,
Lagana Band Trailblazer. Like we could cut the heroic stuff for now until we get a feel for like if the rhythm of the deck allows that stuff to shine.
Yeah, the Lagana, I will say the
I'm a sucker for
Lagana,
heroic stuff, so it
yeah.
hurts me.
Well, the funny thing is Lagana is just a 0/4 that becomes a 2/6, like
Yeah.
without heroic. Like we just put counters on it and it's a 2/6.
Hmm.
So there's a part of me that feels, yeah, I think you're right though.
I want to get a better idea of like how things play out before
It
I
can't
commit
swing
to
on
like
turn
that
2.
kind of a package. Yeah. Right.
Can't swing on turn 2.
That's a
Um,
good way to look at it.
yeah. Code spell cleric. Are we into this? It's got vigilance, which is nice, so we can load it up.
If we're looking to like have a double spell turn 3, then I
Yeah,
think it's good.
I think it's really good on turn 3.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of sad if it's our only one drop in our opening hand.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
it
but
happens
it
though.
happens, it'd be that way.
A lot of
Sergovian
these like
Angel.
yeah, cut the shadow creature.
Ah, fuck, dude. You are really busting my balls, my man. That is so
Yeah.
so good. Maybe it's recency bias, but the shadow creatures have been so
Maybe,
um
yeah. I like them a lot too. Maybe Sparring Construct can go just because it needs to die to put a counter on something, and it's not like it puts its counters on anything when it dies and it enters
so
with counters.
I think
So like
that's
that's why I
like
like
we don't have agency over it, right?
right.
Right.
That's why I like Iron Print is that it has counters that you can proliferate on its own, like without any assistance
Oh.
from anything else. Like Sparring Contract does not enter with a counter; it just is a 1/1 that puts a counter on
Oh,
something
wow.
you
It's
control.
actually a lot better than Sparring Construct because it's coming
Yeah,
in
it's a
with
lot
2,
better.
and then it's moving them and it's 3. Um,
Yeah, and that's why Star Pupil, Servant of the Scale, even the training creature, whatever it's called. Um,
yeah. I will say, so one of the things I was talking to Noyark about before this, was just the idea that, like, these cards that make it hard for our opponent to truly deplete us of our board are
mhm,
really good, and so Sparring Construct kind of falls in that category, but Sparring Construct is the worst of them by a
yeah,
huge margin. So, yeah, let's cut that one.
or maybe
Um,
even Clockwork Beetle instead. I don't know.
is
Like,
Clockwork Beetle still here? Oh god, yeah, we can get
yeah,
rid of this, right?
yeah,
Like, it's not a good turn 1 play. Um,
yeah.
okay,
Let's
let's
go back
cut
to our
some of
two
the
drops.
2 drops because I don't think we wanna go too much leaner on this. I have,
I
like,
honestly think,
16 1
like,
drops in my
call
Passive
me
Waster
crazy,
deck.
but I think Prowler can go. Blanchard Prowler in this deck. I don't.
Oh, sure, okay.
I could take it or leave it.
Yep, okay.
Maybe
Um,
also, I mean, Null Hunter I like quite a bit
Null
though,
Hunter
but
is
I mean,
repeatable.
I'm just thinking of cards that like need to survive a turn cycle to actually do
That's a
anything.
good point. Yeah, so this one,
But I mean, it's not like a high priority kill target or anything like that. So
no, it becomes a 4/4, and then it's gonna become a 6/6,
mhm.
and I think at that point it might die.
Yeah, possibly.
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine.
I think that's what I like about it. Are we regularly attacking with 6 power?
It's a good question. Probably not until like
Turn
turn
5?
4 or 5.
Yeah. So
Yeah, maybe we can cut it for now. Again,
turn
yeah,
1, 1 I
I
mean,
think this is pretty clearly like one of those cards where, like a lot of these cards, where we need to get a better idea of how the game
yeah,
plays before we want to make a concession for it.
right. And one of the things that's really important to be like that we're trying to keep in mind here is this whole idea that a lot of these cards are giving us immediate agency over where we want to put the counters. They just come in, we get
Hmm.
them right away, and that's so much more preferential than having to meet some sort of bar, right? Like, oh, you have
Yeah.
to have 6 power, or you have to attack with multiple creatures, or oh, you have to do this or that. It's
Hmm.
like, no, no, no. We want the creature that comes in and says, ETB, put a counter on something. Just
Yeah.
smooth and simple. Um, and or comes in with counters itself on
Right.
it. Noyark asks, tier 4
Hmm.
trash? Yes, definitely.
That's right.
We're all about the tier lists around here. This is definitely Noyark says, of course I jest. Yeah, yeah. No, I know your mind, Noyark. I know the jest in your voice slash text here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, would it be so? I know that I love Taunting Elf and Shinan. Do we
yeah.
want to save those until again, like cards that
These are
may fit?
removal, right?
Yeah, never mind. They're great. Keep them. I don't know what I'm
Like
thinking. They're great targets for
they're
counters.
so good. these
Yeah, I'm
these
crazy. Yeah. We're getting to a point where
yeah,
getting
yeah.
into
It's
movies where we're
like
trying to
getting
hit
hard to
cuts.
cut cards. Like we have to cut 22 cards, dude. It's like how are we gonna do that? We have 55 creatures, right? So it's almost certainly gotta come from
Has to be
let
creatures.
like
Cut Phantom Tiger.
uh
Cut Phantom Tiger.
this was supposed to be easy. This was supposed to be easy. What are we doing? Fuck.
Because it's just like a static beater, right? I mean,
Comes in with
we got
3 and
we
it
got plenty of
never
stuff to beat with.
yeah.
We, we,
Okay.
we make our own beaters all the time.
All right, chat. If you have other recommendations, you need to
Yeah.
say now or forever hold your peace because it's gonna get really rough in here. We're gonna start
Norek brings up
making
a good point. We should cut all the play sets of cards that we've included in the deck. So we
uh-huh.
need to cut three of our Contagious Vorax, three of our Star Pupils. That'll get us down in no
Yeah,
time.
that's right. Yeah, if we cut yeah, exactly. Cut 3 of all these. That's 12 cards.
Do we want to cut something like Adaptive Spore Singer,
Where's
like
that? Which one is that?
the ETB proliferate stuff? Because I mean, we don't want to have like too many of those without stuff to proliferate, do we?
But
Maybe Bloom Hulk would probably be a better choice.
oh, Bloom Hulk, man. Yeah. Oh, geez, Rick. Uh
Yeah, Bloom Hulk. I don't think. Look, if we're looking at all the cards that like ETB proliferate, I think Bloom Hulk's the worst one. Because the other ones do other things, right? Like
yeah,
they
yeah.
Spore Singer can pump a creature. Should we
I,
want
I
to do that for
I
some
think that
goddamn
Preserver
reason?
is going to come out now. I
Sure.
think we are at that point. Um,
Yeah. Look, I'm
ev-
a sucker for a card that does 8,000 things, but yeah, get
yeah,
out of here.
right, right. Like we're like this right here feels smart. Like four mana value creatures feels like we're going to
And
get
they're
one
all
of
good.
them, and they're all their exact fucking same thing. Like they're all they're all support two, right? Except for
Yeah.
Relief Captain, which is support a million.
Yeah.
Like this is the stone cold nuts right here.
Yeah.
And plus,
All
look at
those cards
that.
are very
Look at
impactful.
this art too. What is going on here? Can we just take a
He's writing a
moment?
thing. He's a man writing a
He's
thing.
writing a thing.
Yeah. You know,
and
as
and
you do.
and I
Have
just
you
want to
not written a thing before?
mention he has a stirrup like a is he
Just
pull
drilled right into its head.
like what where are those coming from? where is where is this
That's a good question.
Watsy? I need something
Look,
explained. Look,
maybe
like
if we lived on Zendikar, it would make sense, but unfortunately, we
this
do not.
there was a parallel evolution between the core and the thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the movie The Thing, by the way, so I don't know your reference. Is there something
Oh
that
no.
looks like this?
Oh no, no. I meant when I say thing, I mean
Like a generic,
object.
like an object, a
Yeah. Although
okay.
you should watch the thing because it's a tremendous piece of handiwork.
I you
Um,
know I will someday take your recommendation. The trouble that I have is that um, so, it's a disturbing film, right? Like
yeah, I
a
don't want to get too off topic, but the thing about the thing, I mean, I'll say it's my favorite movie ever made.
what?
I am a tremendous sucker
Whoa,
for
ever made?
craftsmanship. Craftsmanship is my big thing. It's all practical effects in the thing. It's all prosthetics and ooze and goop, and everything is crafted by hand.
Yeah.
It's a marvel to me. But I love
Wow.
stuff like that. Like the Dark Crystal. It's all puppets. It's awesome. Everything is insane in that movie. It's that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, that totally
Eat it
make
up.
I mean, I used to be a big fan of Wallace and Gromit. That was, like, one of my
Oh
favorite
yeah, I'm a
series
huge
ever.
fan.
Yeah,
Yep, I love
fantastic, right?
claymation.
Like, so much
Yeah,
work going into that, and to a
yeah.
degree too, like, everything Miyazaki, like, Studio Ghibli, where it's, like,
Hmm.
the amount of work it takes to make each one of those
Yeah,
is just, like,
I love
unfathomable.
like books and comics and all these things that people work their whole lives perfecting.
Yeah.
It's really marvelous, and that's one of the reasons why the thing is one of my favorite movies ever. It's just a fantastic movie in a million respects, but that's one of the things that really gets me about that film.
One of the things.
Yeah,
But yes,
exactly.
initially, to be clear, the thing that we're describing here is the
Whatever he's
object.
riding. Yeah.
Yeah, this object that he's riding with the reins coming out of its head. Not there's there's no bit. uh, oh man. Okay, so I did make some cuts there before anybody could respond. Before Uh, I just cut
Yep. Good.
Dawn
Let's get him out
Char
of here.
Dawn Charm. I cut something else
Hey, I trust you.
here. I cut the 3/3 that draws a card.
Hmm. Yeah,
Although,
we can go.
yeah, I mean it whatever. And then and then I like Light of Hope. I think this needs to go. I think Lead by Example might need to
Sure.
go too. Both of these, like maybe
Okay.
this is too reactive, and this is
Well, it's
just like no
also
body, no
I think
body.
Light of Hope is yeah, go for it.
Light of Hope is so good, but like,
Maybe cut shoulder to shoulder instead, since it's a sorcery speed and an additional mana. It cantrips, sure, but I think
oh yeah,
adding
yeah,
4 power to the board at instant speed is
yeah,
really underrated.
that's a good point. We're still at 14 cards that we need to cut.
Don't
Rave
worry,
Amati
we haven't
hopped
posted.
in. Says I was looking at these commanders and I ended up going for Winding Constrictor, losing some counters. Wait, so putting some. Wait, losing
Like
some.
effects that put counters on creatures.
Oh, for
Yeah.
card draw. Each
So
creature
like
effect.
in the black versions of this deck, you don't have things like Silver Flame Ritual. A lot of the cards that just put counters on stuff. You don't have.
Yeah, you're just looking at green.
And yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Granted, you have better draw spells, but like a deck like this,
oh,
beats down a lot harder.
yeah, so I see. Ravamati's pointing out that when you get black, you get good card draw.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's reasonable. You also get a shitload of other stuff.
Hmm.
But like, I think that it's more of a mid range build than what we're doing here,
We're just trying to
which is
beat down.
reasonable. Um, yep. Okay. Thirsting roots. Yeah. Like these are all really these cards. None of these cards go. So
Yeah.
we're going back to
The
creatures
only
again.
one I would, the only, so I will say the one of those that I would consider is Courage and Crisis. Um, Out of those 6 cards, I think it's the worst one.
Yeah, so
Uh,
this one is this
it's undoubtedly very powerful, but amongst those 6 cards, it's the one that I would want to cut the
what's
most.
our like if we projected this, like what's our proliferate often going to be? Is it proliferating 3 creatures?
I don't, yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable.
So if
We
it's
have a lot of creatures.
proliferating 3 creatures, then that's 6 power.
Hmm.
So anything proliferate is going to be
A lot.
yeah, like
But you look at a card like Courage and Crisis, and then you look at a card like Thirsting Roots, and Thirsting Roots does say 3 creatures, 6 counters, right? 6 power for 1 mana. Courage and Crisis is
yeah.
7 power for 3.
Well,
Um,
it does put 1 counter and then that one gets doubled and then it's
oh,
going to
sure, that's true.
proliferate and then it's going to do it again, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh
You're right.
shit, that's actually way better than I thought. I just
Yeah.
like talked myself through it. Let's look. One counter goes in, it gets doubled to 2, and then you proliferate
So
the
it's
2
4
to
counters on
3
one
or
thing,
is it
2 on
wait
the rest.
4? Really? Wait, how does
Yeah,
that work?
because you proliferate onto the creature that you put the counter on. Yeah. So you put a counter on something.
Okay.
So you put 2 counters on something, right? And then you proliferate, and you can choose the thing that you just put those 2 counters on.
Yes. So that
Yeah. So it's
becomes
4.
3?
Becomes 4 because
Why is it
when you
4?
proliferate, it gives because when you proliferate, don't you add 2 counters instead of 1? So you'd have 2 from the
No, it
spell.
just says then given each counter of wait. We got to read this. Choose any number of permanents and or players then give each wait,
Yeah,
and
you're
then give
adding a counter, which would add a second one from Mentor, right? Proliferating should add 2 counters.
Oh, because yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
so this gives +4/+4 to one
Yeah.
thing, and then it
Yep.
proliferates your whole board. This card is
hmm
cracked.
It's better. Yeah.
Um,
Never mind. It's
yeah,
better.
okay. So, okay,
Yeah.
so this is why I'm looking at Silver Flame Ritual, because I don't know that at 4 mana, this is actually doing anywhere near as much as any of the other proliferate cards.
So the reason
Like
why that card I like that card is to some extent is because we're not guaranteed to have counters on all of our creatures to proliferate, right? And that'll put them on them.
mhm.
Silverman Ritual. So we need to have counters on the creatures already in order to proliferate them. Um,
I'm just thinking that, like, there's a
which is
decent
why like
chance
it's
that
good to
that's
have
already the
cards.
case.
It could be, it could not be. Maybe we could cut Silver
Yeah,
Ritual until we like I said, like
I
we'll see
think that's it.
how we end up playing out.
I think that what we're gonna find is that, because what you're asking is a great question. Like, are we reliably having counters on lots of our stuff? Because
Sure.
maybe we need a way to make sure that everything has a counter, and then when we proliferate, then it's insane. Like you're proliferating for like +20 power or something stupid like that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's less, um, but like I think so that hypothesis is worthy. I think Silver Flame, like my hypothesis is that most of our stuff will have counters on it, because we're going to want to
Sure.
spread the love out. And so I think the ritual can go for now, and we'll just spec cut that and then come back to it later.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds fine.
so then that, I mean, that does bring into question whether Bloom Hulk, knowing, I mean, Bloom Hulk isn't doing that though. Lifecrafter's Gift
We
is,
the thing is that we have a lot of proliferate stuff already, and Bloomhulk I think is the worst one of them, which is why if we're gonna cut
yeah,
something,
it's a good point.
the 4 mana spell I think is the one where we want to do it.
We're down to 13. Holy
Maybe we could get
crap.
dual. Maybe we should cut dual for dominance if I'm being honest.
Duel for dominance. Okay. And that's because we need Coven.
Right? Yeah, it's a hoop, and we can minimize those.
What about protection? Is this too deep a bench?
Mm,
This kind of means we're going to get one protection spell in like a lot of our opening hands, potentially two. Um,
yeah. If we're
so
gonna cut any of them, I'd want to cut Shamana's Blessing,
it
which is a
is the
double white.
double white. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. We're shaving. And remember, chat, this is a good chance to highlight something, which is that this video series is about the process, not the outcome. And these decks that we make don't need to be perfect. That's not what we're going for. We're going for the process of cutting down these cards when we've gone through a huge array of proliferating, our options, right? We've proliferated our options and all these amazing things, and now we're like weaning it back. And the weaning back and the culling of cards is where we get really serious about what we're trying to do, right? And that's why you see us looking at cards that are really good and then saying, well, this isn't actually what we're trying to do. Or like with the graft, the 4 mana graft card, it's like, oh, this comes down and then it only starts working then. And then that kind
Yeah.
of informed all of our other choices around cards where it was like, well, what we really want is for the thing to come down and put counters right away. No, no screwing
Yeah.
around, no if and, it's just we just get it, right? Um
So, I know that we love our 4 and 5s or our fours. Do we want to shave Badger's Acolyte?
Basri's Acolyte.
Yeah, it's our
Um
4 drops.
Is this the worst of them? No, the
It's a
worst one
double.
is, oh, double white, but this one has
It's a
lifelink.
double white. Sure. So, probably the one I would want to cut
Maybe
then.
Lagak then, right? Because the toughness is nice
Yeah,
on
because
these,
it's a one
right?
toughness creature. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
let's
that
cut
one then.
Lagak. Okay. What about, I was also looking at Tethmos. I know this card is really
Okay,
good. And like this hits, like
a lot
this
of our
is,
stuff.
well, and it hits our commander, right? And it's like
Sure.
uncounterably brings it back. We just have to cast the spell targeting it. So like
Mhm.
what we could do is we could let the commander die, target Tethmos with a protection spell, and trade the protection spell for our commander.
Yeah, this is another
Um,
reason why I like cards like Lead by example, is that we
yeah,
can not use the
oof,
entire value of the spell on Tethmos. Like we can give Tethmos a counter to return something, and then also put a counter on something else.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like band together. That's why I like band together, like those sorts of cards. Is that like you don't lose the value of the spell by having to devote it to a one
hmm
particular target.
And we currently have 22 instants and sorceries, which means
hmm
22. So one in,
And most of them target.
yeah, right. Yeah, we can use this in conjunction with fight spells. That's probably its best use. Actually, that is
Mhm.
its use, right? We fight something, we get something back from the graveyard. It's already been made bigger by counters. I think this card is really important. This is going to represent
Yeah,
multiple
the card's really
drawn
good.
cards over the course of the game by just getting cards back that have died. Um,
Yeah,
okay, so I don't think we cut more from here. This stuff is all very premium. Like Kinsbale Courier is a little bit more
yeah,
expensive than the twos, but when we encore this,
right.
yeah, I mean, Encore put 8 power on the battlefield. Or no, what is it? No, put 6 power. Six
Yeah.
6 power just in counters, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay, so I think what we do now is probably shave
Maybe
some
cut Oran Reef
twos.
Survivalist.
Is it the dumbest looking one?
It puts a counter on itself.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Mhm. The one in here that I'm most partially cutting is Phantom Nomad. I think it's cute, but I don't know if
Oh,
that's where I wanna
man.
be.
Are we really getting out of the phantoms?
Dagger. Well, it's double. I can get this card out of the deck, and I can stab you in the back, so, um
Yeah, it
like, look at
boy,
the rest of our 2 drops, and, like, this is
this thing is
way
also
different.
unkillable. Like, I mean, that's
Look, it's unkillable through damage.
they can bounce it.
Mhm.
Um,
You can snuff it.
they can't snuff it. Well, no, they can. It's only damage.
Yeah, it's only damage.
Oh.
So it's great in combat.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Got it. I thought that yeah, it was wishful thinking, you see.
Yeah.
Um,
The rest of our 2 drops I like quite a bit.
rose-colored glasses there. Yeah, I think we could cut 2 drops a little bit because we can these okay, so actually these proportions here of like 18 and 16 are both highly relevant because of the play pattern of 1 drop,
Mhm.
2 drop, so 1 drop commander, 1 drop, 2 drop, right?
Yeah.
Thraben Inspector, it's not
It's
doing
the
any of
least.
the
Yeah.
things, right? And it's
Cut
a
it,
great
cut it, get out of
card.
here.
Get it out of here. Mere Scrappling, I don't like.
Sure,
What
cut it.
Yep, okay, cool. Good. Nice. Look at this chat. We're moving. We're moving. We
No,
got
I'm not gonna
momentum.
argue with you.
I don't think we can go down on 1 drops anymore. This is like
No, I don't think so either.
nope, we're good.
No.
Um, oh god. Um,
46 creatures, okay.
yeah, I mean,
Cut Kinsville Courier.
cool.
I like this card a lot, but cut it. I think the effects that we want to be using to like put counters on stuff are best at 2 mana.
Holy shit. 5 cards to cut.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Um, do we want to cut the taunting elf? No, the taunting elf is so good. I've already been through
Yeah,
this.
we've
I'm not
been
doing
through this the same horse and pony
They are
show.
amazing. They are amazing targets for counters.
And look at this art. Oh god, it's like where the wild things
You
are,
don't want
dude.
the Rebecca Guay art? Hold
Oh,
on,
I
give me
love
the art.
Rebecca Guai, but this looks like this is like where the wild things are.
Yeah,
That's
kinda.
like very much my childhood.
Yeah.
I was this guy right here. Yeah.
I was the other one.
You were the beast.
Yeah, just a
The
little
just a little
nonplussed.
furry creature sitting in the corner with horns.
Yeah, just chilling.
Just chilling. Um, yeah, I think regularly Shinins and Taunting Elf are just gonna end games.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what they're there for.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
What
let's go
about
back up
Carnivorous
here.
Canopy? I mean, Proliferate's really good, but again, this is another like reactive. Um,
Yeah, get out of here. It proliferates on it's 3. I mean, most of the things we wanna kill with it are 3 or less, right?
yeah, I mean, this card is nuts.
Yeah,
And if we need to, we just target somebody's mana rock. Fuck your mana.
yeah. How good is Deepwood Denizen?
Deepwood Denizen is very
I mean,
slow
we're gonna activate it for a green every time,
every
but
time.
it's very slow.
It's very slow.
Let's cut it for now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a slow card.
Mhm.
It does have vigilance, which is pretty sick. But
Yep.
yeah, um, we got to shave something in here.
It
First
should be
strike. It's just one of these effects, probably.
want to cut the backup agent so that all of our things that add counters are green cards?
Yeah, let's do that. Plus, I don't like citizens.
Yeah, there you go. Cut
Uh,
everything.
Battery Acolyte, why you gotta have this cool but like incongruous border? Can't be doing that.
Mm-mm. Get the Gemstar version in here.
Uh huh. I think the proliferate on the spell is just too good. Like we can't not play
Yep.
proliferate cards that are like under three, like 3 mana and under, right?
Hmm.
Um, Jesus.
Uh, don't you dare. That's the best card.
Which one? What was I hovering over?
Unbound Potential. Unbound
Unbound potential.
Potential.
Oh no, this card's nuts.
Don't you dare touch that card.
No, no, no. We don't cut this card. This is very good. Can you imagine when we cast this for both? Whoa.
Yeah. God forbid.
Yeah. A great sort of tier, very good. It feels like like so criminal to not play this, right? It's like
I know.
equip
Is it
for
like a
one.
win more though?
Yeah, I don't know if it is though. I feel like this makes us win. Like we just like
Yeah.
tap down their blockers and put 2+1/+1 counters every time we attack, and we can switch it over
Yeah,
for 1 mana.
that card's too good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a card that we want to get in like our no, I mean even opening
Well,
hand, it's fine.
it doesn't even matter what our opening hand just needs to be like 2 lands and 3 creatures, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. Um, maybe a removal spell. Um,
possibly. What are the
so
2 Mutants Prey and Titanic
they're
Brawl
the
are the
same
2,
thing.
are they?
Yeah,
So I would probably cut Mutants Prey because we can't cast it if we don't have anything with a 1/1 counter.
yeah.
Titanic Brawl we still can. It just, we have to pay 2 mana instead of 1. But there's a fail state for Mutant Spray. That is not, you know, that is certainly something that we'll run into.
Could it be also possible that because these are both 1 mana, that bite down a Master's Rebuke, that like one of those? It just feels
I
like
think that card is just abjectly better.
we're very slim. This is starting to get pretty slim.
Right, but yeah, I think Mutant Spray can go, but I wouldn't. I'd keep the rest.
Yeah.
Like I
Uh,
said, like I
let's
never want to be in a situation like it's a 1 mana fight spell, which is awesome at instant speed. But like, there may be a situation where like we just can't cast it.
yeah.
I'm sure it'll surface a non-0% of the time. Titanic Brawl is just like a 2 mana fight spell is serviceable. We'll always be able to cast it. Most of the time, it'll cost 1 mana.
Hmm.
I guess between the two of them, I just like Titanic Brawl better.
Yeah. Fair enough. We are at the stage where like the decision making about certain
Hmm.
cards has become somewhat arbitrary because there's so much redundancy in the deck that like it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, let's cut the one with the bad art. Um, what about
yeah.
Scrounging Bandar? So it comes in with 3+1/+1 counters. Beginning of your next turn, you're going to put 2+1/+1 counters onto something else,
Hmm.
and it'll still be a 2/2. It's not a card that we're going to want to attack with, right? But we will load it up with
Sure.
counters. We probably load this up with counters, right? So this is kind of like taking those counters. This is the money laundering cat monkey.
Right.
Um,
I think for this effect, Spike Drone is better because it's not gated by like once per turn. It's a mana thing. Um, does that make sense?
yeah, it's funny. This is the same curve that I arrived at in Passageways here of like 16 1 drops.
Hmm.
I think I have 12 2 drops, like 5 3 drops, and like four
I
four
think we can
drops.
afford to cut Bandar.
Yeah, Bandar. I'm sorry, we're not laundering our counters anymore,
Only with
and
the
we
Spike
we
Drone.
ruined the thumbnail that could have been.
One more card. Find me one card.
Oh God. Okay, lands. I put 35 in. 35 seems like
What's our
reasonable,
curve is very low. We could probably cut one.
right? But we don't have any mana rocks, right? So it's like it should be about 2.4, 2.45 lands per opening hand. So we could cut one. Yeah, we can cut one. I'm not usually a proponent of this, but let's just do it.
Well, let's try it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try it. And then we're gonna go into playtest. So
All
we're
right.
just gonna assume our mana is perfect,
I need to
okay?
change. Okay, sure.
Oh, and unfortunately, the screen is gonna be the way it's gonna be. I actually can. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of fucked up, but that's okay. Y'all can deal with it.
All
Um,
right, let's go.
so yeah, this is a great hand.
This looks good.
Oh wow, yeah, even better. Okay, so we go
Oh,
go
okay.
Healer's Hawk first, just because we want to start gaining life, and then land into Commander. Oh, look at that. There's the Code Spell Cleric. Wow, this is a fast start.
Okay, so play Code Spell Cleric and then play Unbound Potential.
Like
Or the other way around. The other way around. Well, you can do it. No, you
unbounded
could do.
potential into Code
I know.
Spell
Yeah.
Cleric. Yeah,
No, never mind. That's not as good. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If we want to be attacking with Conclave Mentor, yeah, we can do
yeah.
that. We put two counters
So
on each of those and then play Code
yep.
Spell.
So
That's actually
one,
a lot of
two.
power.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of power. Look at this. Like uh yeah. So that goes into. We'll just put our graveyard up here, and then
Yep.
we
And then we
go
get Code
Code
Spell Cleric,
Spell,
which
and it's gonna
triggers as a
come in.
3/3.
Yeah, I mean that's swing for 7. Next turn, like we're nowhere near gassing out either. This feels like
We
a
still
kind of
got.
a godlike hand, actually.
What does Gather Courage do here?
Gather Courage is put a +1/+1 counter and proliferate.
Yeah, cast it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so we go. Actually, know what we do is we go Battlefield Raptor, and then we cast Courage and Crisis. Put a counter on this
Oh yeah,
one
Courage and Crisis.
2,
That's what it is.
and then it's going to proliferate 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
A
What?
lot of power.
What?
Seems good.
Wait.
And like, this is turn 4.
6 12 17 22.
Yeah. Granted, like we did draw like the two best pump spells in the deck, but
Yeah, I mean, this feels like maybe the best hand this deck could ever draw. Um, yeah,
let's try another one.
yeah. That one obviously was we kind of popped off there. This is awful,
This end, this is
not
great.
functional. Yeah, um, take us off of our high horse a little bit. So okay, this looks good. Uh, 1 we go Pegasus.
That's great.
Yep. 2 I
Oh,
think
Skulk is the perfect turn 3 play. No, no, no. Cast Commander here.
is it Commander into. Because there's also Aqua Strand Spider. Oh no, we want to cast that with our
Yeah,
commander in play, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. We want
commander,
so, and it gives us the 2-drop 1-drop line that we want.
yeah, okay. So we got this right here, and then we go land into. We
We
probably
can do
have to.
Dauntless Survivor.
Actually, yeah. So we
Skulk.
go Dauntless Survivor. We buff this up because this has to be able to attack
Yeah.
to turn on this, and then we swing. We hit them. We play this. We get 2 counters
Hmm.
like that, and then
And we have Courage and Crisis again, and it just is like.
oh god. Yeah, I forgot that card was in our hand. Um, wow.
Or if you want to play like
We could also proliferate this way.
Battalion or something, yeah.
I think
Or
it
like play
is.
Battalion, like set. So it depends on what we want to do this turn, right? If we want to set up for next turn, we play Battalion.
There's a lot of setup
Um,
here, right? Like we could go.
but like Courage and Crisis, we're going to play the turn we want to just like ship a ton of damage.
Yeah, like
Um,
both of these. Like there could be a turn where we cast both of these, right?
mhm,
So you know, so like do that swing with the team,
yeah.
and then this turn that's a great draw. This is going to get
Yeah.
huge, but it's only post combat. So,
It's during combat.
or yeah, sorry, during combat. Oh, it is during
Yeah.
combat.
So if we cast Courage and Crisis pre-combat
Yep,
and then
Courage and
attack,
Crisis, and we put it on uh, the flyer
either the Flyer or the
or
Dauntless
the.
Survivor, just
Oh yeah, the
bring it up
Survivor.
to attacking
Yeah, so we do
speed.
that 1 2, and then we proliferate.
Yep.
Um,
And
we're-
then what we'll do is when we attack with everything, we'll put the counter from the Battalion on the Flyer. Does that make sense?
oh no, Battalion only puts it on itself.
Oh, it only goes on itself. Okay, never mind. That
Yeah,
card's worse than I thought.
yeah, it's.
I thought I put it on us on another thing.
Yeah, it just gets huge.
Okay.
I think it just gets huge. But yeah, I mean, this is like, and then we
Well, either
attack,
way,
and
it's
this
a lot of
goes.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, this is turn 5. That's a lot. Now we're assuming that we just got to do our thing and that we didn't have to like hold up mana. Um, so we're
Yeah.
like playing, asking questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, each of these hands we've had like a protection spell, right? So
Hmm. This is awful. We would
yeah.
mulligan this.
Hmm.
That's unplayable. This,
So 2 lands.
I think we have to keep this, and we probably ditch the Master's Rebuke,
Yes.
and then draw, go Serogovian Angel, assuming we have the right colors.
Hmm.
Land into
It's
Commander.
good.
Yep. Land. Oh, I mean, well, there's the lands. And then we go into Taunting Elf, into Travel Prep,
Yeah.
and
Travel
we
Prep's a heavy
go,
lifting here.
yeah, 1 2. Add the counters. 1 1 2 1 2.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And then we do our thing, and then next turn we go. Um, I think we just flash this back and then hold up feet,
Yeah.
and we probably go 1 2, and then 1 2, and then eat somebody's board.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
we have
especially
to.
since we have travel prep or not feed resistance, right? So we can definitely kill a board with that card.
Yep.
'Cause that puts 2 more counters on it.
Oh, actually, in this case, I think this would go. We would probably put this on the taunting elf.
Yeah, the feed resistance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, we'd
Yeah,
attack into somebody's board and with a
and
6/7 they have to
eat
block.
eat the whole goddamn thing.
Yep,
Yep. And then we go. We don't. This is
it's
the
pretty good.
last thing we want to do, right? But
No,
maybe
we want to
it's the most
wait.
mana
Which?
efficient thing to do is to cast You Meet in a Tavern.
Sure.
But like we also don't need to. We could just go Simic Initiate, hold up Titanic Brawl.
Yeah, I
And we've already
think that's
used
fair.
this, so
And we just got a huge board anyway. Like turn 5, we attack for 13.
yep. This comes in with +2/+1/+1 counters on it. Um, and then say we have to fight something and kill it.
Yep.
And then we go here and oh, okay. Well, hello. Go
Yikes.
1, 2, 3. Ooh, ooh. Well, that was pretty bad, but
Well,
we just
it's not
play
the
it out.
worst.
I mean, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yep.
Gonna
And we graft it.
graft. Yep. And we're gonna put 2/+1/+1 counters on it,
Yep.
and then okay, now we go. You meet in a tavern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that was a 3 mana draw
That's
four.
good.
That
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a ton of gas for this deck.
and
That's
then
a lot to work
one
with.
into probably
Well,
Spike
like,
Feeder because it sets us
yeah,
up nice.
and graft onto it because we
Oh
want to
God.
stack it with stuff to move around.
Oh, graft is so gross when you have
So it ends with
multiple.
2, and then it gets 2 more.
Okay, so it gets four,
S
four
so
plus one
now
plus
that's
one
8
counters.
possible counters that we can ship off of the drone onto other things.
Wait, is it? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. So then, yeah, if we go here,
Yeah, so next turn when we have mana available, we can just, like
wow.
and that so this is a busted hand, right? Like, this is a game ending
So
right
just
here.
like bond. Okay, so like, how does this even work? Bond Beetle comes in with
Mhm.
comes in with nothing.
Right.
But then we ship 2 over onto it, right? 1 2 1 2 like that from
So
here.
we're targeting itself with its ability.
No, with those with this.
So where are we putting the counter
Oh
for Bond
wait,
Beetle?
this is you have to pay for this.
You have to pay 2 mana.
Okay,
It's not as good
so
as Graft, but you can use it for
yeah.
multiple times in a turn if you it's a good mana sink.
So I wonder if we should have kept the Simic Initiate to just load up.
I
So
don't
because
think
one of
so.
the ways you do it, right, is that with a creature like
Oh,
Bond
sure, I see what you're
Beetle,
saying
right?
is keep those 2 on the battlefield and
Right,
just
because what you can
ship them
do.
back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, you can. So that's kind of crazy. So you ETB, you put ETB. Graft is going to trigger alongside the ETB of the creature, right? So you can stack
Yep.
them however you want. You take your
Yeah.
counter, you put it on the graph creature, and then the graph creature launders it over onto the other one,
Hmm.
and you just repeat that over and over again. That's
Yeah,
kind of spicy. But yeah, this
that's
hand
cool.
turned out really good. And then of course they all just get first strike.
Hmm. And then we can punch through extra damage with take up the shield, gain a ton of life. Imagine take up the shield on taunting elf right now.
Yeah, gross. Very
It's like wipe
gross.
a board, gain 10 life. Yeah.
Okay, this is it's fine actually, because we go turn one Raptor, turn two Commander, turn three captured by Legak.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah,
Or turn 3 Knighted Mirror if you want to do that.
or turn three Knighted Mirror, yeah. Ooh, Carnivorous. Man, the proliferate cards do be hitting today.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Um,
Oh, never mind. Card's great.
yeah, what do we I think it's just captured. Maybe I
Yeah,
mean we
we don't
might
have
not.
any other plays,
Yeah, one,
really.
two. Okay. And then ooh, Glade cover into Unbound potential.
Yikes. That's good. And Unbound
So
Potential is an instant, so we can just do that on like somebody else stuff if we wanted to
oh
do
right,
that.
so we could
We
go
could
one,
slow roll it.
two. Yep, right. One, two there, and then
Or we could just
probably
proliferate. Like,
oh yeah. But which one's better? Because
well, it might be better to do the counters with this because we can proliferate off the canopy.
we do get to target two different things with this, right? So we
Yes,
get
we do.
so we get
Yeah,
to
so put
go yeah,
2 on Scout, 2 on Raptor,
yeah. Uh-huh.
and and then we can proliferate with the canopy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? It's like lining up for the canopy.
Mhm.
Um and
Or we
then
have 2 removal spells with our
or
giant
yeah,
creature.
yeah. I think the proliferate here is nutty though. Like
Yes,
one,
it's very
two,
good.
three. We could also like wind up a little bit. Although this
Yeah, get
doesn't
the
have
Nightmare
any
out there.
it doesn't have any counters on it though, right off the bat.
But we can no, we can adapt it.
We could adapt it, but that would take our whole next turn.
Sure.
But it would make it into a 4/4 double strike. I mean,
If we draw a land, it'll give us mana to keep up
right. So
the
let's
removal
just swing
spell.
for the fences. Okay, we didn't get there. That's fine. So we
Yeah,
go. Let's just because we don't need to do anything with our mana. We don't need to do anything
right.
with our hand.
And keep in
We
mind,
just
like, we're not, like,
adapt.
creating an outrageously large board, but, like, we still have a 5/6 flying first strike creature.
Yeah, yeah. That's a lot.
Mhm.
Here we go. One, two, three
Oh, yeah.
into
I don't think we needed to play
Ledgewalker.
I don't know if we needed to play Ledgewalker. We can just proliferate and keep up a removal spell.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So we go one, two, three.
Because the proliferate's also gonna trigger the double strike on the Knighted Mirror.
Dude, it's so much. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Oh my god, it's nauseating actually.
Mhm.
That's so
Yeah, you see, like, what this card does in Selesnya as opposed to Golgari, like, the cards you have access to in these
Yes,
colors
it do
are
slap.
absurd. Yeah.
Uh, um, it do slap. I mean, this is like 12,
Like,
17.
out of all these hands that we've played,
This is
have we
30
ever found ourselves
damage.
just like have you ever been just like, "Man, I wish I could draw more cards?"
Not
Or
yet.
have yeah, like,
Uh,
the rate on what we're doing is so high that we
oh,
just get away with it.
look at this.
That's a great hand. This is a very powerful hand.
Yeah, right. So, okay, we don't want any more lands. No more lands. I think what we
Well,
do is we go. Is it Pegasus?
well, I think Pegasus is always the best turn 1 play, right? Because then it's up whenever you get creatures to attack with it.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Oh, that's a good card.
Yeah, this got really good really quick. This hand opening was like, okay, we're down with this, and now it's like
Yeah, I think what
actively,
you're missing was, like, a really good 1 drop to go with that Palm Bright Druid.
and now we just have it. Like you just go. Uh, um, Actually, I mean, damn. There's a line here where you go Sergovian Angel, Homestead Courage, Homestead. So actually, here, why I think we go Sergovian Angel, Star Pupil, and we
Mhm.
put the 1/1 on.
Star People puts on itself.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a servant of the scale. Yeah.
got it. And then we go Homestead Courage, targeting probably the commander, just so that we can get through this combat
Yeah,
because we
get it
need
out
to be
of,
able to
like, light
swing
and
with
bow
this.
range, yeah.
Um, okay, and then we pass. That's a little too many lands. No more lands deck. But the funny
Wow.
thing is, we go this onto the angel.
Mhm.
This is actually insane. Look at this. Pollen Bright Druid, proliferate. 1/2, 1/2, 1.
Just add 6 power to the board.
No, more than that. Oh no, it's, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I mean, this is turn 4, and we have 9, 15, 16, 17, 18 power.
That can attack.
Yeah, like all of this can attack. 17 of it can attack. We have no more
Mhm.
cards in hand though, and we're drawing
Yeah, who
all the
cares?
lands in the world.
I mean, is everybody just gonna cast all their removal spells at us? I don't think so.
Yeah, one person is going to be very upset. This
It's
is
gonna take
also a tragic amount of like.
this is the kind of board where, like, people need to gang up on you big time to manage it, and I don't see that happening a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, and I think this comes into a bit of like a discussion about like
And
when
we're
you're
flooding this game, like,
right.
really hard.
And when you're an aggro deck, you do need to like clearly state your intentions and then like communicate to the other people what it is you're doing. And that thing needs to be something that's helping them in a way.
Mhm.
Like you justify your own presence by the pressure that you apply that other decks might
Yep.
not be able to apply. So this definitely
Yep.
has chops. Wow. This was like I don't know. These are never easy. If I
Yeah.
ever start one of these off saying we've got a really easy smooth brain, somebody come in chat and just slap my hand.
Yeah.
Bad, bad. Uh, this was
Oh, we didn't even get to see Experiment 1 do its thing.
no, like experiment one would be so good.
That
Oh
card's
my
awesome.
god, yeah, experiment one into yeah, like the what would the dead nuts be with this deck? It'd be like experiment one into commander into like triple one drop or something.
Yeah, and if the triple one drop was like Simic Initiate, Star Pupil, um, like Codespell Cleric, and then turn 4 you played like 2/2 drops or
Or
something, I
bond
don't know.
beetle maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, this one I was not anticipating to take 2 hours and 52 minutes, and
Hey, man, that's what you got me around here for, to give you
yeah,
the
keep keep
suggestions.
keep the show nice and long.
That's right.
But the thing is that whenever we do these deck builds, one of the things that I really appreciate about you and what you bring to the table with this is that we always end up exploring something that is kind of on the cusp of casual, but when we sort of take it and apply the sort of competitive
Yeah.
mindset to it, we realize that there is actually something there. And
And that's a really
and
great thing about Pauper Commander is that, like, and I know I talked to you about this before, the delta between casual and competitive is like much narrower. So
yeah,
it's very easy to like tune your decks and kind of adjust those knobs to like fit
yeah,
whatever kind of play environment that you
yeah,
find yourself in. So it's very easy to take this list and like make it as aggressive and like damage focused as possible, which is what we've done. But you could also dial it back and like focus on other effects, like cooler synergistic things rather
yep,
than just like raw rate power level things. But that's one of the best things about the format is like that level of tweaking that you can do that's not hard and it doesn't change the deck in like an appreciable way, but it just kind of helps you tailor it better to the people that you're playing with.
yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And to your point too, it like that. Like if you were to go in and adjust like 5 cards for flavor,
Mhm.
this deck would still be powerful.
Yeah, it would do the
And
same thing.
it would do basically the same thing. And even then, if you wanted to say like, oh, I maybe I cut a 2 drop for a 4 drop, or
Yeah.
something like that. Those adjustments are all perfectly reasonable because
Mhm.
ultimately, like the deck is built around this one thing, which is like we're amplifying our counters, and there's a lot of ways to do that. And so it's kind of an exciting thing. And recently, you may have seen me mention it, but I mentioned to Alcadron, your cohort on the PDHRC, and I was
Yeah.
talking to him about how it'd be really fun to take like Mardu Rough Rider, which is like kind of
Mhm.
this meme.
And just take it seriously.
Yeah, right, like that exactly. So
Yeah.
like if you
That
take
card hits
these,
hard.
like Alk has always been Alcadron Rough Riding, Mardu Rough Rider, the
Yep.
Drawn, right? Like he is the Dawn of
That's
this
right.
deck. But it's like there is nothing unreasonable about playing a commander in the command zone that gives you Mardu.
Mhm.
Mardu is a disgusting
Yeah.
color combination right now. You're getting access to every one of the good board wipes. You're getting access to good protection. You've got good card draw.
Yep.
And look, Mardu Rough Rider is just Gigantha. Like if you
Yeah.
for those of you who enjoy watching other formats, Aspiring Spike talks about this a lot. Um, Gigantha is this card that you just always have a 5/5. And if you
Yeah.
watch him play, he says it's one of the most broken cards in Modern, and it's really interesting to think about that because it's a very limited thing to say. I just have this 5/5. Well, like in this format, that
Yeah.
5/5 also makes things not block. It's also
Right.
black and it's 4 toughness. It's like you could take Mardu Rough Rider and take it seriously in a competitive
Mhm.
sense. Now, I'm not saying Alcadron's deck, he very much took it seriously, like it's his baby. Like it is
Yeah.
catered around a vibe and this thing that he wants to do. But if we took it and
Right.
made it competitive, let's use that. That's much better language.
Mhm.
And we said we
Sure.
wanted to make it competitive and go really hard on it. Like that seems like a very scary mid-range deck.
It's very
Um,
reasonable.
right.
The cards, I mean, it's a fine card.
Yeah. 5/5 makes your things not block. Like I mean,
Yep.
and no, who wants to kill that thing? And who can? It's like
Yeah.
what do and it's just like this eighth card in your hand. It's just the eighth card that when
Mhm.
you run out of gas, you just have this 5/5 and you just play it out. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, here it is. And you can kill it, sure, but it's just like,
There's yeah.
okay, like whatever,
Recast
sure,
it.
and just recast it at some point. So I think that
Yeah.
I think that that's a really exciting lens to start looking at these let's builds through. Is that there's like the thing that I'm most enthusiastic about right now, and we've talked about this a ton. You just talked about it. Is this delta between casual and competitive? Because one of the things that I notice is that there's a lot of when I've sat down and played with people in paper, some of the vibe around casual comes from comes from an insecurity around being not a good Magic player.
Sure.
And it's not everybody. Absolutely not the case in every setting. But I've noticed it frequently where there's people who are like, I'm building casual because I don't feel like I have the chops to play competitive. And what I really like about this conversation about this delta, becoming narrower and narrower is that it's a gateway for people to play either one, right?
Yeah.
And to feel like they're not limited by their perception of themselves as a deck builder or as a Magic
Right.
player.
Yeah.
That's
When it
really
comes down
exciting to
to
me.
like playing competitive or casually, it's not about what you're playing, it's how you're playing it, right? Like a lot of the ways that I build decks, I build decks very casually because that's just like how I like ease my brain. It's just like a relaxing thing, brewing decks.
And then you come on
So
this show.
I explore a lot of like, well, like in Commander and stuff like that.
Sure, sure. Uh-huh.
And in my private brewing spaces, I do a lot of like weird things, like my mischievous cat guys deck, like those sorts of stuff. Um, like I love brewing decks, and I brew very casually. It's just like, what do I think is cool? How do I make the cool things happen the most often? That kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah, for sure.
But then when I play them, I'm very keyed in and like locked into what's
Yeah,
going on. Like
totally. I mean, I've played with
I
you
play
and
very seriously.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's a really cool mentality to come from because I
Yeah.
think like
It,
you with some of your decks that are like more casual in a sense, right? Like you would still
mhm.
probably perform really well at these competitive tables, albeit you would have probably less interaction, right?
Yeah. Well,
Which
yeah, in
but
some
like
cases.
again, like, that's an easy dial to turn. That's a
Exactly. Yeah,
very,
it's one of those
very
knobs.
easy and that's one of the defining characteristics is like in casual, it's more about everybody doing their thing. You want to execute these cool things. And
Yeah.
and the only dial you need to turn is maybe you shave on a couple of places and then you add these removal spells, maybe some card advantage, right?
Yeah.
And so that's exciting to me. I think that's where like this format hits a certain mass appeal at price point in terms of
Yeah.
like and there's all this like
Yeah.
tension and weirdness
Not to
between
interrupt, speaking
casual
of
and
price point,
CDH. I mean, like this is
yeah,
an
I speak
$8 deck.
yeah,
What the
I
I
have my
didn't
mouse
see
cursor,
that.
I'm just circling the 865 with my mouse cursor on my screen right now, like, yeah, it's a $10 deck.
This deck costs less than any fetch land. This is a quarter of
Yeah,
the cost of a fetch land. Um,
yeah,
I I just think there's so much going for this format right now. It's why I made this channel. It's why I'm a believer in it. It's why I don't play anything
mhm,
else. Is because the depth and the breadth of this format, the cards that you would never
yeah,
ever play again, the cards that you played in limited that rocked, you get to play them here, and they're great.
yeah,
And they're not
and
bad
think of
cards. They're
here's
good
another thing you can
cards.
think about, like, with this is a +1/+1 counter aggro deck. You know what else is that? Hamza is that.
Yep.
You know what else is that? Juniper Order Ranger is that, but all those 3 decks are different.
Very different. I mean, like, if you look at like
Yeah.
we were talking about before we got on this show talking together was like, why? My first question to you, right? We can go back. I'm going to quote
Yeah,
myself,
Discord,
okay?
yeah.
I'm gonna quote myself real quick here, and it is going to make your screen go away for a moment. But let me just see if I can find it.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, yeah. So what did I write? because this is always interesting. I'm
I
not.
came to you and I said, Ryan, we should
Yes,
build Conclave Mentor.
yes, you did. You did. You said Conclave Mentor, I think, has legs. And then and I didn't respond to it for 2 days. No, 3 days. And then you
Yep.
were like, "What time do you want to stream?" And I was like, "I'm behind the eight ball." And then we went on, and then you said, "Honestly, I think the more I think about the Conclave Mentor, the more I think it's worth looking at. Also, seems like a card people tend to overlook." And then I was like, "Talk to me about Mentor," and we went through all this stuff, and it's like there's just such an interesting world to explore with so many different cards. I mean, people sometimes don't know that this format has 4,500 commander and commander options.
Hmm.
And like when we talked about Hamza, my question was like, why wouldn't you just play Hamza? And
Yeah.
Hamza is fundamentally different. You play a lot of artifact creatures that are like kind of weird, like the 6 mana 4/4 flyers, like the Charcaradron
Yeah.
dragon or whatever, because they come into play for 1 mana or for free, right? Like
Yeah. The tensions and incentives are way different.
totally different. So you've got a deck with the same theme and completely different cards. And what's really
Hmm.
fun, by the way, about brewing with you is that you and this isn't everybody. Like you have this understanding that like the cards need to do the thing that we need them to do in that slot in relation to the deck and what we're trying to do. It's not about
Yeah.
staples. Like you and I always drift away from staples, which is so cool because staple is another one of these
Hmm.
words like stacks and tempo. This is starting to lose its meaning. It's like I
Yeah.
don't play pestilence in Rilsa Rail,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Try and find me with another deck that I don't play pestilence in. I
Yeah.
mean,
These things are very powerful cards, but do you need them? And a lot of times the answer is no.
yeah, yeah, but
It's really important to just have that clarity of focus in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. In the decks that I continually work on, like for example, like Heritage Druid, I've had together the longest. I work on it all the time. It's like a very modular deck that hinges a lot on redundancy. Like there's a lot of things that I could be doing with this deck, like play the most powerful cards in vacuum, like play like this deck is zero removal spells because that's not what I'm trying to do.
mhm,
Like I'm
yeah,
not trying to kill creatures, I'm trying to kill players, and I can get through the creatures. I'm not worried about that.
yeah, yeah,
Like I can handle that with my creature base and
yeah,
like how I choose to construct that. So I don't need, you know, Rapid Bite or Master's Rebuke, any of those cards.
sure, sure,
Um, which are green staples, right? Like it's all about context, and they're staples because they fit in the vast majority of decks, but they are not appropriate everywhere, and people I think
right.
lose sight of that a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
and I think that there's an interesting thing here, which is like right now we have like a shifting meta towards more of these decks that like don't play as much interaction and they're more aggressive. And just
Yeah,
to indicate, like, and I do think that that does cause problems sometimes, but
it
it's
can.
a problem that is self-correcting because what
Yeah.
happens is that like okay, so you sit down and like maybe there's like two players who are doing the non-interactive thing, and then there's only one player to
Hmm.
contain the combo player. Well,
Yeah.
then when those people go back to the drawing board and then they're kind of thinking about their life choices and their their card choices and their deck choice. Then they maybe
Hmm.
say, okay, like maybe I'm going to bring something this next time that's a bit more mid rangey. And so
Sure.
like the reason this format doesn't really need bans is partially because of that.
Hmm.
So like on top of the fact that this is just a sub $9 deck, sub $10
Yeah.
deck,
Yep.
like that never will ever have anything banned from it. Um, like that's all of your decks in Pauper Commander. All of your decks in Pauper
Yep.
Commander, they're just so unlikely to ever have anything banned from them. They're there forever. Like I think about and you probably have thought about this too, but like I have Battle Box number 1 of Pauper Commander. Uh,
Yep.
Battle Box number 2 of Pauper Commander. I have Battle Box number 3 of Pauper Commander. I have battle boxes
Yep.
for Pauper. Here's number 1, and I have battle box for Pauper number 2. And you know what's happening? None of these are ever losing their value. I could pass these
Yeah.
on to my kids.
Yeah.
Like my kids someday could sit down and eventually inherit this whole collection of cards, which
Hmm.
maybe is the cost of one CEDH deck.
Maybe, if that.
I think that this, when I've done the math on it, I have one, so three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So each one of these has 16 Pauper decks in it, and Pauper decks
Sure.
average between like they're around 50 to $60.
Yeah.
So 15 times 50, so we're looking at like $700 here, and then we're looking at a $35 case, sleeves, so maybe like 1700, $1,800 between 40 40 decks. And then I've got my Pauper
Sure.
Commander decks that average, I think average Pauper Commander deck in competitive right now is somewhere around the $50 mark,
Hmm.
somewhere around there.
That seems right.
And man, it's like that's that's like the cost of like maybe one upgrade in your commander deck. And that's not
Yeah.
just CEDH, that's commander. If you want to get
Yeah.
doubling season, anointed procession,
Hmm.
some of these like sanguine bond type stuff,
Yeah.
um, you find yourself in a position where you're really spending a lot of money. And like ultimately, I just don't know that those formats are any measurably any more fun than Pauper Commander. Like I like it's
Yeah.
all magic, right?
Right.
Eh,
Yeah.
So it's great. I mean, Jin Shooting Star says you have $3,000 on Pauper Text. Yes. I would, sometimes, we would use the meme of like, I have a problem, but I don't. This is, uh, yeah, because I was involved in my local community, running these large, 30 to 40 person Pauper events. I would have people come in that would see this organization of like 10 leadership team members and myself and the way that we were welcoming people into the community. And they would just come up to me with like their collection of stuff, like 40,000 cards, and just be like, I want you to take this and like do stuff with it. So like I didn't buy all this stuff. So a lot of it I did with my store credit.
Hmm.
But yeah, just generally speaking, like thinking about how I can play any archetype I want at any
Yeah.
time, and I'm never locked into it. And you never get that feeling of like I've built decks in the past where like when I was playing standard, I was playing in the
Look,
enter
like,
like I don't know.
yeah, there's ways to invest in your decks, right? Like there's ways to custom. Like one of the most fun parts about Commander or Pauper Commander is like customizing your deck
Oh, for
to
sure.
you, right? Like in my Heritage deck, which is my baby, I've got all these. I don't know if you're familiar with these cards. They're the white border international uh
Oh
promos. It's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
promo
for
set.
sure. Oh, dude,
So I've got all
customizing
those.
Pauper commander decks is the
So
biggest
I've got
flex.
all these. I've got my white bordered Elvish Vanguard,
Yep,
Avant-Garde Elf.
beauty.
All that stuff. I've
I've
got the
got my
Japanese Land War Elf 30th anniversary promo.
Here's
Like a lot
my
of
custom
promos and
altar mayhem devil. It says Murder Clown
yeah.
in graffiti, which I actually did this one myself.
And
But
even just something as simple as foiling out your deck, right?
oh
Like
yeah,
in some cases it's very expensive because there's some foils that are very expensive, but for the most of it, it's just like it's not even a fraction of what you do trying
somebody
to do
hooked
this
me
with
up
a
with this
commander deck.
foil borderless terminate, and this is like maybe one of my favorite. Like you
That's
know,
awesome.
it's like
Yeah.
it's fucking gangster. Like this
I
whole
just recently
format is
actually
amazing.
I just the other day, I in my heritage tier list now, I recently removed the last reason why I needed snowlands. So
Oof.
I bought a set of these beautiful the elf jumpstart lands from the deck. You see this?
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh that yeah.
So I
That's
got a bunch of
juicy.
those, and they're gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's an ongoing thing as I find. Did you know that there's a full art promo Nissa's Chosen?
Oh wow. Yeah,
I
that's
didn't either until
awesome.
I bought one for the deck. Yeah, so
Yeah, right. And this is
you know
like so if you want to like customize your deck and make it beautiful, you can. Like I was even just
you
looking, I've
can.
got the village rights here, the
It's
um
easy to. It's very affordable to do.
yeah, yeah. I mean like
Because what commander decks are an expression of yourself, right?
yeah.
You express yourself through your commander decks a lot of the time.
I
So,
was trying to think of like
um,
the other one that I just got recently, which was a I'm
there's
actually on my next paycheck, I am going to get
mhm.
myself an alpha pestilence. Um and
Nice.
probably a seventh edition foil crypt rats. Because both
Okay.
of those are like some of the bigger flexes you can have in the format. Like
Yeah.
um because those
I just
cards
found
like embody what I like to do in the format.
I found this out recently. I have one of these in my deck. There's a store championship promo Arbor Elf. So it's an Arbor Elf
Oof.
with like the rare stamp.
Ooh, I bet that's not cheap.
It is. None of these things are expensive.
Really? The Arbor Elf
Yeah.
isn't?
No,
I feel like
it's just
that's at the
normal Arbor
heart
Elf,
of
except
so
it's got
many
a
modern
stamp.
decks, isn't it? Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the
And
one card that I wanted to
the most expensive card in the deck, right, is probably like the 30th anniversary Japanese Llanowar Elf promo, like the non-foil, because I hate
yeah.
playing with foils.
Yep.
Um,
Ooh.
but I mean, that was probably the most expensive card in the deck.
Best ponder ever printed is the Black is Beautiful. Or what no,
Oh
what was
yeah,
it called? Black wait, no, sorry. It was black uh
I forget the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, but this one here that was all the like Black History and Black Celebration stuff.
Hmm.
Like gorgeous art,
Oh yeah,
awesome
it's great art.
storytelling. It's got like Teferi. It's not Teferi. It's Riel. That's right. But the other one that I was trying to find here too in my Murmuring Mystic, and probably my favorite card, because Murmuring Mystic really just like the deep cuts back to like kind of what got
Yeah.
me into this format, is
Oh
this
yeah.
one right here. Because I remember the moment when I discovered this worked, and that is Old Border Foil Airborne Aid.
Oh nice.
Draw a card for each bird in play. You ready to draw 12? Uh,
I think I have one of those. Yeah.
yeah. We got the old, Strixhaven counter spell. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean you can go deep on this. My Murmuring Mystic deck is
Hmm.
not cheap, but if
Yeah.
you bought it
My
in
snakeskin
paper,
veil is the Japanese Strixhaven one.
oof, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the yeah. So it's just great, and I think there's just a lot to be said. Ooh, this one, yeah. This is the foreign keep watch foil old bordered keep watch,
Oh nice.
which is also just the judgment foils,
Oh
man.
yeah, that's nice. That's a
Like
pretty
really
one.
hard to beat.
Yeah,
So
the old border blue foils.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, dude, I think this is a great place to wrap up. This is really
Yeah.
fun to just like get. I always love these moments where there's somebody who has a shared enthusiasm for the format. Obviously, being part of the RC, that's something that it comes with the territory of where you're
Yeah,
at. But
man.
it's just fun to be able to like to vibe out on this stuff, because I don't know. I think that this format has so much potential to grow into becoming
Hmm.
one of the more staple and commonly played. Oh, both of those words are great here. Formats
Yeah.
out there. It's like there's not a lot of other ways that you can get into Magic this cheaply and
Yeah.
play competitively if you want to. So
Yep. That's
yeah.
right.
Well, chat. I just want to thank everybody who is still here. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us on this adventure. I know it was a longer stream, but hey, this is kind
Hey,
of
we got
part
there,
of
right?
this is what we do, right? Like it does take a long time to get a deck to 90-95%. If you want to take this deck and build it yourself, it is a meager free if you want to play it on
Yeah.
Moxfield, or it is 865 purchased off of wherever this links to. This must be TCG Player, I imagine.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
yeah, but you're probably talking like no more than like 15 bucks at max. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and just with a couple of sign offs here. If you're enjoying the content, if you enjoyed what you saw today, please do leave a like, do the free thing, and support the content. If you have any feedback for us,
Hmm.
leave it in the comments or message me directly, whichever you like. Hit the
Yeah.
subscribe button if you haven't done it already, so that you can get updates. I don't always let people know when videos are coming, like gameplay type stuff, and that's a great way to do it. Also, in the description below, take a look. We do have our Patreon; it is completed. We have tiers all the way from meager $2 a month, which is less than a half a cup dollar, or half the cost of a cup of coffee every month, all the way up to larger stuff if you really want to be a massive patron of the channel. And each one of those is promised with really a good offering, a good spread of offerings, including access to a supporter exclusive part of the channel that has a lot of really great stuff going on in it. In fact, I recently added a section called Human Advancement for those of you that are interested in diet and in exercise and in healthy living and competitive mindset. I've been posting all of the podcasts that I listen to while I drive around in my truck and people pick up people's recycling all day. So I can promise it is the hottest and finest podcast material out there. So yeah, if you want to support us, if you feel compelled to do so, that's a great way to do it. And yeah, and with that,
Yeah.
Derek, thank you so much for joining us on this. It's always a pleasure to have you on,
Yeah, man.
and you'll be
Thanks for
back.
having me.
Yeah, for sure. So, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, thank you so much. Hope you have a great evening, and we'll catch you on the battlefield.